We are live.
Hello and welcome to the 77th episode of DCP, brought to you by Skull Game Controllers. Use code DCP at checkout for like 5% off.
Nailed it.
Got it.
You almost forgot the number, but you didn't, so we're good.
Yeah, I thought it was 15%, which is not correct at all. But yeah, it's 5%. Yeah, 5%. Anyway, what do we got going on this week? We played Sea of Thieves a bunch, which doesn't really reflect on this being a Destiny-related podcast at all.
We could turn it into. We could compare this. No, we did a raid. We did a raid in Sea.
We did do a raid.
There was a raid.
We did a raid.
Is it a raid? Was that more of a
It's a raid.
The skulls.
Yeah.
Yes,
green
it's a
skull.
skull
The
raid.
Green Skull raid.
We were calling them public events.
You know, it is.
It
kinda
is.
like
It
public
is a very
events.
public event.
It is a public event.
Yeah.
But it's a raid.
In the game, they're called raids. In reality, for Destiny players, it kind of feels like an advanced public event, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Myling Games, welcome to the podcast. Good to have you back.
Hi, how you going? Thanks for having me.
Yes. So we've been playing Sea of Thieves this week. That was a lot of fun. Aren't we? I think we're actually going to post that to the Patreon channel, aren't we? The Let's Play.
Right.
It's up. It went up on Monday, and it's public on, or is it this new one?
New one.
The new one.
Yep.
Yeah,
New
it
one.
would be up Monday.
Monday.
All right.
There you
Great.
go.
Yeah. Well, welcome to the show, Mylan.
Thank you.
So we've got this.
Man, this
problem.
was the most fluid start.
The
I think I've
most
ever seen.
fluid
Yeah,
ever.
I'm in
Oh my god.
Just slid.
It's like
Hit the ground running.
it's the way I parked
I'm
my
sorry,
boat
that
on
was
the beach.
my fault. I jumped in. I'm sorry. I jumped in before the introduction.
No,
Not at all.
there was no saving this one, man. It's all good.
You know,
It was sinking ship,
Sometimes you
wasn't
just gotta let it go, right?
Mhm.
And if the boat's too many holes in it, you just let
You
it sink.
scuttle it.
You
Yeah,
scuttle the boat. You scuttle the boat.
Scuttle
No
it.
matter how much treasure's on board, you just gotta.
Too many
No, you
Connors
always take the
slapped
treasure.
you with cannonballs.
It's
You gotta
all.
scuttle.
Oh my god, Connor.
But we are in a
We might need
place.
to mention Connor. To be
Well,
honest.
we'll mention it at some point.
We are in a place in Destiny where a lot of people are anticipating what this new DLC is going to hold for us.
New DLC or the update?
Well, the new update and the new DLC for in terms of lore. Okay.
Yeah.
And so one of the reasons why I was excited to have you on is because we could go over, kind of start building that excitement of what's going on lore-wise in Destiny and get some understanding of that so that we can kind of, I hate to start the momentum of getting excited for the DLC, but at least understanding what's going on in Destiny 2 lore-wise and respond to some of the questions that people asked about the story, right? Some of these kind of things that they opened with Saint 14 and some of these neat sort of stories that we got look into and how our opinion or our view of Osiris has changed. But I was really excited to have you on, so I really appreciate it. The majority of work that you do you stream as well? You do YouTube and stream?
Yep. So I stream as well. I think that comes down to the whole conversation of Destiny content creators diversifying. My YouTube channel is pretty much solely Destiny lore videos or has been that. So, it's a bit of a tough world out there for Destiny content creators. The lore's usually in a bit of a better place, but typically a lot of the time I'm using a lot of information from Destiny 1 still, which is probably why it holds a little bit more momentum. And I'm not, looking at actual gameplay mechanics in Destiny 2. So it's okay. But yes, I'm also on Twitch playing a range of other games. Got in on Sea of Thieves, played some Fortnite, played some Escape from Tarkov, a whole bunch of different stuff. So I think my YouTube channel is so niche. I think people come to Twitch and expect a very quiet, lulling voice, and they end up. What this isn't Mylan? Are you really Mylan Games? This is not what I'm used to with
When you stream on
videos.
Twitch, people just asking you lore questions like constantly. Or
In the beginning, it was, and
Yeah.
that's how I started with the Twitch. It was like a open open forum. It's not as much now, but occasionally people come in and they're very welcome to as well. I have no issues with people asking, lore questions, because sometimes you can't really get the answers unless you spend a lot of time reading old Grimoire cards that you have to find on databases, or watching videos that might be outdated as well.
Mm-hmm.
Is the Grimoire still up on Bungie's site for Destiny 1?
No, they took it down.
Oh wow.
Really?
They
Wow.
took it down.
Man, they shouldn't have done that.
Yeah.
They should have at least kept it up there. That's crazy.
Well, I mean, I think that's a lot of the. It's like every little aspect of like the Destiny 2 community has been triggered in some way, and I think the lore community is no exception. And there's been a couple of things like removing that and initial comments when Destiny 2 first came out about shelving certain aspects of the storyline and not returning to them. Like the Exo Stranger was a really, really big one.
The darkness was a big one, I thought.
The dark, just
the whole thing.
just a little. But so I mean that's an interesting conversation too about that foundation sort of being ripped up and started again. And I guess hindsight's 2020. When I think a lot of people now think that why'd you do that? That should have remained. You actually had some really gold nuggets there of a foundation of a Destiny universe that at first was really criticized with the Grimoire cards, but ended up being really one of the shining gems that when people started looking into it, they're like, well, Destiny actually has, or Bungie has built a universe. Yeah. And I've tried some Monster Hunter lore and other things, and to be honest, nothing comes close to what Destiny put into the Grimoire cards.
I've got a theory that Bungie has like this, or had a misunderstanding of what we were asking for when we were saying, the Grimoire should be in the game. Is we were literally asking them to just put the cards in the game, like so we could see them in between, like when we were flying.
Yeah. You think they read too much into it?
Yeah, like when we're flying to a planet, like pop up a Grimoire so we can have something to read while we're like loading into the next screen. I do like what they did with Destiny 2, where there's more story in the game and the story actually makes some sense as opposed to the original Destiny, which was kind of a mishmash. But they got better with that over the years with the DLC too. But to lose the Grimoire altogether, it does feel like a big loss. Whether you were into the Grimoire or not, like that stuff, that backstory, watching your videos and like learning more about, Saint 14 and, all of these like kind of back stories that were come out of there was just fascinating. And it's sad to see it be gone.
Yeah, I wanted to comment on the Grimoire thing. I always thought that they were eventually going to put a kiosk in the tower that you could then flip through the cards and get that information, because a lot of games have a codex.
Perfect.
Right? Yeah. And I assume that's what everybody understood is what we wanted when we were asking it for in Destiny. And they're like,
I think
let's get rid of it.
Like the way that it sort of translated was put it in the game. Whereas I think what it should have been was people were unhappy with the accessibility of the lore. So you had to remove yourself from the game world to read up on the Grimoire cards. And I think if you ask for, we want it to be more accessible, as in we want to see the lore in the gameplay, to go get a gun and realize that this has a backstory and then easily be able to access that backstory. Yeah. And I guess lore tabs do that to a certain extent. But if you look at how accessible scannables are, they are probably the most inaccessible piece of lore out there, because they're scattered through the environment. You don't have any record of which ones you've picked up. Once you've actually picked them up, there's something that happens with scanning them again. I remember having a lot of issues recording them because I had to reload that area to actually get it to proc again, to actually get that saying happening as well. And so if you look at the scannables, I think they're terribly inaccessible to understand. And if you don't have the background of the Grimoire cards, the two sentences you might get in a scannable makes zero sense. And that's when the codex comes in and to sort it into categories. I mean, Grimoire cards had categories, and that made them accessible to a certain extent. And that's what when you talk about codex and stuff, I think we're talking about how accessible the lore is to someone who wants to seek it.
Yeah.
And right now, it's very inaccessible for people that want to learn more.
It's like in Horizon Zero Dawn, you'd walk up to a piece of scannable. You'd scan it. You'd either get an audio piece or you'd get like a holographic projection type of thing. And then that would get cataloged into your into your codex, so you could reopen it and like go through that stuff if you desired. Most people, they just walk up to it and be like, "Oh, I collected that little tidbit. Now I can move on." But if you want to dig into the lore, you would obviously want to come back to that stuff and also see the order that it was meant to be given. Because right now you just stumble upon it, like you said, it's 2 random sentences. You're like, okay. To somebody who just joined
while
it,
you're in the middle of doing something,
yeah.
you're out in the world. Maybe you want to like be in the tower and be like, okay, there's this monster. Let me look it up. Let's see what it's all about. You instead of being in the middle of nowhere and be like, I got something shooting me. I can't really hear what you're saying. Yeah, missed opportunity.
It's great that you mentioned Horizon Zero Dawn and how they did that. I found myself, I'm not a huge lore person. The scannables, like you guys are talking about, I don't really get pulled into that as much as other people. But I found myself in Horizon Zero Dawn spending time just sitting there and actually listening to them or looking at finding these areas, these vistas where you could see that imagery. And it was pretty awesome. I mean, I really liked the way that they did it. That story was
first class too.
Yeah.
So that really helped. Like that story was so fucking good that any more detail you could get out of it was, just it was really, a fascinating thing. It felt
and
so
the lore
really
gave you cues. The lore gave you cues of what the story they were foreshadowing like things and it just, if you chose to want that depth, you could get it.
Yeah.
It was really cool.
Yeah, I think, and the Division did something similar with how it had its scannables too, and it put it into a codex and it put it in order too. So, if you were so inclined, you could go find out the backstory of that family that were there when everything went to shit. But if you didn't want to, there was some other things you could go into. So the Division had a way of making it accessible and adding sort of some collectibles too as well. But you mentioned, so I didn't answer your first question, which was DLC.
DLC.
Or the other thing, I mean, look, there's lots of, I think that's some of my gripes with Destiny 2 lore. There are some really good things in there too. You guys mentioned Saint 14. I think the integration of him into gameplay in a mission was good, although a lot of people are upset with killing off such a legend.
Right.
A little bit. I'm a little bit upset with that. Yeah.
And also, what's the lore community's stance on his death? Like, is it something that is you believe that that was him and he died in the simulation, or do you think it could have been a simulation that the Vex was showing us?
Yeah. So I guess for people that are not familiar, the whole idea that
spoiler,
it's in. That we find his body in a simulation, and then is that a simulation or not? I do think he is proper dead. If you read like this, the lines of it, essentially it's in the prophecy quest, right? To access Saint 14's shotgun, right? To get that line to trigger, you have to go through the forge, and all of those things are prophecies. So they're glimpses of the future that Osiris has seen. And what Osiris says is the thing about knowing the future is if you tell someone the future, it changes the future. So what he did was he made cryptic prophecies, and that's what he sent back to his followers. So if anyone picked it up, it would just look like gibberish. But to his followers, they would understand that it's actually, this is what's going to happen. So there's an aspect of Osiris knowing that Saint 14 is going to die. He sends us a message to go and investigate. We find him dead. And this is where the whole paradoxical thing comes into play, because we end up receiving the gun and Saint 14 says, I return the gun back to you. So this is idea that we gave the gun to Saint 14 and Saint 14 gave the gun to us, which is a perfect paradox, because how can we have given him the gun if we've never met him, et cetera, et cetera. And that goes into the timey-wiminess of it.
Oh, so we could potentially still meet alive, say 14.
So yeah, there could, if you want to say that there's other timelines, there could be that too, because Osiris is saying that maybe in that timeline he is dead. I think the main thing comes down to the light and how the Vex can't simulate the light yet. There's lots of cues in Destiny that. The reason why we've been so successful against the Vex is because they couldn't simulate the light. And that's sort of how the Vex function is. They simulate the enemies, and they run thousands and millions of calculations, and that's how they know the enemy's weaknesses, and that's how they destroy them. And for Guardians, we've always been unique because we've had the light. And so it does talk about the light in there. And so you could say, well, your ghost says he has no more light left. So that would indicate that he was real because the Vex can't simulate the light.
They couldn't simulate.
Does that make sense?
They couldn't simulate the light, yeah.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
But there's also no light there. So is the light not there because the Vex can't simulate it, or because they drained it all from?
Interesting.
So I don't think there's a real answer, and I hope, I mean, it would be great for him to return another timeline. I don't know if people will find that cheap, or if they should just leave it like at that and leave that mystery. But yeah, that's my. I think he's probably dead. If you look at the stuff about the light, I think the light in the simulation is probably the greatest sort of thing pulling me towards he's proper dead.
Mm-hmm.
I think the reason why people may want to see him alive isn't because I think the main reason is that maybe his death was so anticlimactic that it felt like such a, I would want to see him alive so that I could properly see him die. No.
Yeah.
I don't know. I guess I'd like to have a Saint 14 grand adventure, not just what we got.
Yeah. I mean, I always hoped for the thing with the Vex DLC when that was coming about was it is so open-ended because now you've got like time travel and future timelines and like parallel timelines, and you could potentially do flashbacks. You could go and like see the lore of Twilight Gap or Dredge and Yor. Like it opens up a really big possibility to do anything you want. Like if you're writing a story about time travel, that's just like an open book to do whatever you want, really. And it would have been cool to be able to go back and see some of those things. And I think that to me is where I would like Destiny lore to go, is the stuff that you read in the Grimoire cards and scannables and that happens, that it actually takes place and starts sort of, going into the gameplay rather than just being something that happens in the background, which is sort of.
Is this something we should expect, though? Should we expect to see all these characters that were in the Grimoire, or was that really meant to be like more like this is the world we live in? We're moving on from here. We might never meet any of these people. Now we are meeting them. We've met Osiris. We've seen Saint 14's dead body. Like I always expected that the Grimoire was like this is the backstory of the world we now live in. If you like this world of Destiny, if you like what you see on screen, there is more reading for you in the Grimoire to kind of flesh out like the world we populate. But we're not necessarily going to go to Twilight Gap. We're not necessarily going to fight Twilight Gap, right?
Yeah.
And I don't resist it too, because it'd be cool to go to Twilight Gap and like fight alongside, Shax and Lord. Was Lord Solid in there?
Yeah.
Anyway, go there, but I mean, I don't want like a whole DLC about it. I don't want a whole adventure about it, because going back in time, knowing the ending of what's the eventual outcome is less exciting than moving forward in time. Yeah, and theoretically, like meeting new things, doing new adventures, and hopefully, like getting to the.
Well, I know that's definitely like the writer's point of view, because when they did the live stream with Jill Shah and the writing team, when they were telling the Iron Lord story, that they basically just said what you said. We don't want to be telling the story of all this cool stuff happened. Like this is about you, the player, moving forward. There's stuff that happened in the background and that precedes all of this, but we don't want to be like telling you like, oh, this cool stuff happened and you're not part of it. Like this is now about your story and moving forward and becoming, an Iron Lord. So I definitely think there's some truth to that, and that's also the intrigue of Grimoire cards, is that there is a hidden story there, and I think that's what gets a lot of people excited. I would just like to see some of it blend across to sort of hint into gameplay.
Well, it feels like they introduced this concept of time and the Vex and this epic battle of Saint 14 against the Vex, and that seems like that DLC in particular would have been a great opportunity to have us interact with that time, even if he is dead, having us participate through the Infinite Forest some way of us experiencing that moment with him. I think that that's what I've always wanted from Destiny in the gameplay, is us to have moments with these epic NPCs in game. You know, I want to fight alongside Ikora. I want to fight alongside Cade 6. I want to do something with them. And when I saw that mission and I was like, oh, am I going to get a chance to play with Saint 14 right now? Like shoulder to shoulder in a simulation.
You got to play with them. I got to teabag him. Well, next to him. Can't
Oh my gosh. Patrick.
His light was gone, so it wasn't tainted. Tainted light.
So I saw that as a moment to have like this epic battle with him, you know, and fighting off the Vex, and you know, the closest thing we could get to a horde mode would be Saint 14 shoulder to shoulder with us going against like waves of Vex. But you know, I don't know.
Look, we've never even had, gameplay wise, we've never even had actually fighting with the people and the characters. Closest we got was the opening mission of D2,
right?
Where we're fighting with them. They kind of show up, they do something. Cade kills something, walks off. You know, Zavala sits there, pops bubbles and whatnot. He's the most useful person. Farm bubbles forever. Use your super and whatnot. It's great. Ikora Nova bombs something and goes off, and like that's. But
even like, even though that could have been better, I lost my mind when Cade popped out and used Golden Gun. Even that small and then Shax, then Shax shows up too and opens the door and he's helping people, and like, seeing those broken characters or characters that are different than what we expected actually in game, and even though that was only a small interaction. I think that's what it was.
I still think that first mission was fantastic. Like I really
first mission was great. Yeah.
No, it was good. It was good, and I'm talking about like even back in the Halo storytelling. You had NPCs that went with you to do these things, right?
One of the coolest parts about Halo 1 is it felt like it was the first time I ever really played a first-person shooter with like a squad. Like we were storming a beach, like on warthogs, and like if I went back and played that game, there's probably like 4 non-player characters, but it
doesn't matter.
It's about
part of an army, like running down that beach, and then when you exit the, it's not called the library. What's it called? But you exit it, and it's like it's a tank fight happening right out in front of you. Like there's it feels like this epic battle. So
I loved my teammates in Halo. I got so many grenades off them. It was great.
Yeah, you could kill them and take their sniper rifle. It's pretty fun.
You could trade with them.
Trade, yeah.
You could say, I want
so
this
much
gun.
easier to kill them.
Brian's mind's just been blown. You could trade? I was
when you like the ammo's down to the last shot, you could trade the sniper to them and they would have infinite ammo. And then you could have whatever weapon they had,
So I think like with like NPC character development is something that obviously can get there. And I don't know if you guys saw like Cade 6's treasure maps and notes and the sort of backstory they introduced with Cade 6. Like that to me was one of the really good moments in Destiny 2. And, that wasn't this crazy thing. It was just a snippet of lore that had a lot of weight to it, which I think a lot of the Grimoire cards often do. And, that basically you find Cade's treasure maps and his notes, and, he's writing to his son Ace. And the very final letter is, honestly, Ace, I don't remember you. I found this in my pocket when I was rezzed. I have no recollection of my family. And I just kept writing to you because it made me feel better. And, that really rounds off Cade's whole character of this jovial, humorous thing that has this deep, dark, post-traumatic stress, essentially, for being rezzed and not being able to remember his previous life. And it was only a snippet of it, but it was a great way to round out that NPC character, and playing with them and doing more like those kind of things is really going to
Mylon, you bring up Cade, but can we delve? Do you have an opinion or how? Can you talk a little bit about the EXO? What do we know of them? Because it seems like every time I hear them spoken of, there's little snippets in the tower where they say, the EXOs are a mystery even unto themselves. Like. What do we know of the EXOs as far as their creation or their
right? Well, this is a great segment to me actually answering your question, which is what's the second DLC, which it's the War Mines symbol, right? And so the War Mines are linked to the Clovis Bray family, and the Clovis Bray family are linked to Exos and the creation of Exos. So I'm really hoping that we see information about obviously the War Mines, but how Exos came about. There was a leak that mentioned a thing called the Deep Stone Crypt, and thank you to Anon Pig for letting me know about that, which was a Destiny 1 Titan mark, Deep Stone Crypt, and the flavor text was the first consciousness, the birthplace of the first consciousness of the Exos. If they go into that, that would be great. The number one thing about becoming an Exo that we know is from the collector's edition, which had Cade's journal. And in that journal, Cade talks about doing a mission for Clovis Bray. And Clovis Bray is not this kind organization. It was like a juggernaut during the Golden Age. It had control over a lot of things and technology. And essentially, Cade 6 is doing a job for Clovis Bray. We don't know what it is, but it sounds like a debt collection. It sounds like a bit like a thug work, essentially. And Clovis Bray says to him, I will pay off all your gambling debt. I'll pay off all your debt if you come to this planet. And in the collector's edition, there's, I think it's Saturn. It's an icy moon of Saturn.
Titan?
And it's I don't think it's, yeah, we don't know. It just says icy moon, so it could be, and he goes to this icy moon, and in his journal, he basically talks about becoming an Exo. So essentially, Clovis Bray bought him and converted him to an Exo. And in the book, there's a picture of half-face Cade, like human face Cade, and half-face Exo. And he talks about losing his flesh to the ice and snow and becoming an Exo. And I think there's some words like sarcophagus, which links back to Deep Stone Crypt and being like the place of death and rebirth of the Exo consciousness. So we know that Clovis Bray is involved somehow in transferring minds to Exos. We know that Clovis Bray was not very kind about it, and that pretty much coerced people like Cade who were in debt to undergo these experiments and be transferred into an Exo body. But we don't know much more than that. Probably going to have something to do with Deep Stone Crypt. So hopefully the next DLC will involve the War Mines, Clovis Bray, and understanding the creation of the Exos.
That's fascinating.
That would be amazing.
Yeah,
that would be
because
great.
we don't really know much about the Exos, right? If you just played the game, you don't really know anything about where they came from or what happened. So that would be amazing if they delved into that.
It was so unfortunate in Destiny 1 where you just were playing the first beginning missions and recognized really quickly that that's not how this game was designed. There were supposed to be 3 different story arcs that introduced the main characters. You know, there was supposed to be a human one, there was supposed to be a Woken one, and there was supposed to be a human one, and they kind of just smashed them together. And you realize that most apparently when you're meeting the Awoken Queen and you happen to have chosen an Awoken character and you're going, it's the first time I've seen your kind before. And you're like, I am you, mama.
I remember
so
saying
it's
that,
just a really odd moment there. And then I just wish we would have had that opportunity to learn how an Exo came about, right? And where did that came from? And if we get around to it now, I'm totally pumped for that. But
And they actually put the creation of the Exos in the same category as understanding the darkness. In one of the it was either Game Informer or interviews. That was one of the big mysteries that they said we're not ready to talk about yet. So I hope there is something really significant with that creation, because I do think it's a flashback to what was initially intended with the lore of the different races, and Exos and Awoken are very significant in that. So I hope it maintains that significance when we get DLC.
Do you think the darkness is gone? Do you think it's just like it's dead as a concept?
No, I think. When you like look at like Cade 6 journal, for example, I think they really did hit the nail on the head with they wanted to get rid of the light and have Guardians understand what more morality is like and death is like. And, Akora Ray and Cade Six, a lot of them talk about like loss and losing family and what it's like to die and the fear of dying. And they actually have some of those concepts in there. It was upsetting that it didn't go longer than the first mission because I don't think the player really felt that morality. Right. But I do think the darkness will come back. They just wanted to focus on light, loss of light, and morality because, we'd been unstoppable, invincible for the whole of Destiny 1.
I always assumed that at some point we would, like in year 10 of Destiny, right? At the end of the 10-year plan of Destiny, we'd actually fight like a physical representation of the darkness, similar to like the Traveler's a physical representation of the light, or maybe is. I don't know if that could be wrong.
There's a really, really good description of the darkness in the Books of Sorrow, and it is probably one of my favorite scenes. Essentially, Oryx creates the Tablets of Ruin, which gives him the power to go into the darkness realm, essentially. And the darkness talks to him and is like, Oryx, sit down, take a load off your shoulders. And he describes what the darkness looks like. And it's this shadowy figure that's wearing the skin of a captain fallen or something like that. And it's some really cool imagery, but the Books of Sorrow is the best details of the light versus the darkness as these cosmic powers. And I've always sort of thought that we probably won't get an answer to the darkness until Destiny's done, I imagine.
Mm-hmm.
So what I fear though is that they just dropped it as a concept. Like it was too weird. It was like,
but it's so cool.
Yeah,
it is so cool. Like I agree. Like, but like Luke Smith's comments on it, like I don't know if I should feel like it's gone forever, or if it's just gone for Destiny 2. They'll come back to that concept. Like the darkness is still referred to in game, but not in the same way it was in Destiny 1, where it's almost like we have short-term enemies like Crota or Oryx, but the long-term enemy was the darkness. And we don't know exactly what we're fighting here. All we've got is this like kind of menacing theoretical enemy,
There's there's an example of how when I was playing through Destiny 1, I felt like connected to a book called, I think it was The Stand by Stephen King. And Stephen King tends to entertain this thought of good and evil, these big concepts of the darkness and the light, like all the time in his books, and these forces that sort of pull at us to go either way. In The Stand, all these people have died from this major illness or this major virus that spreads out, and now that there's fewer people on Earth, they're influenced by good and evil stronger. God versus the devil, and I like this concept of good and evil, and I'm really hoping with you, Briar, I'm really hoping that they explore it and don't necessarily have to feel like they have to put a name to it, but that they're agents of these forces that have committed themselves to be influenced by them, like Oryx, and then the light. I would love to see how the Queen of the Awoken has the contract she has with good, right? How does she embrace the light, right? And where does her magic come from?
Yeah,
because we've learned a lot about the light, right?
You don't want to explain things too much, though, right? Like you get into a situation where all of a sudden you're talking about midichlorians, and like you just like blow the whole thing out of the water. It sucks.
Yeah.
Right.
Like,
so you gotta be careful.
Let's not find out what it is.
No, it's like in a scary movie where there's this like looming evil thing, and then they show you the evil thing, and you're like, this is stupid.
Yeah.
It's never gonna meet the expectations that you set in your mind.
Yeah. And maybe it needs, the way that the Book of Sorrow explains it is exactly what you said, Pope, which is two cosmic powers. And to be honest, the way it says it is there's no really good and evil. I mean, Oryx chose the darkness, and this is the cool thing about Books of Sorrow. Like, Oryx chose to align with the worms, which is an agent of the darkness, because his species was going to die. And so it makes you say, well, if we were in Oryx's position, crash landed on this planet, and our entire species is going to be wiped out, and we're king of said species, would we make a pact to get more power and to overtake the universe, essentially? And that's what Oryx does. And he's in this bargain where he has to keep killing to feed his worm now. So now he's sort of trapped in this devil's bargain with the darkness. But he did it to save his species in the first time. And so now we have this play between all these agents of the light and agents of the darkness. You know, the Traveler's an agent of the light, and Oryx became an agent of the darkness.
And it's interesting because the Traveler in itself is made of is a machine, right? It's a big metal structure, right?
Well, we don't know, right?
Well, I think from I don't know.
Well, you look at it. And
from visually, from seeing it,
visually, it's like broken apart, and it's got ribs of metal cast, but the
chunks have fallen off. The XOR machines, right?
Right, that's what I'm saying. Like that's what's interesting to me is that the light seems to be represented in these machine-made these machine creations, right?
Well, yeah, you're right, because the other philosophy of the light, right, is to create. So the light creates, and that's how it creates a perfect universe, and the darkness destroys. So Oryx's whole philosophy is, if you're weak, you should be killed, because in me killing you, I start to create the perfect universe. If you kill me, well, then that is just, because that means you are stronger and you are part of the final universe. So that's this whole idea of being an agent of the darkness.
Sounds fair.
I will create the perfect universe. If I'm stronger than you, you don't deserve to be part of this universe.
It makes total sense to me. I mean, I don't know why I was not on Oryx's side, but literally, Mylan, you just convinced me. I am pro Oryx.
The raid makes perfect sense now.
It's a very simple philosophy.
You know what?
Do you know there's a lot of similarities between World War II and Oryx's philosophy? Creating the perfect universe, creating the perfect race. Get rid of impurities.
No, that's cool.
Now Pope takes it back.
I no longer want to be Oryx.
Oryx is that one back.
You're like, man, that's cool.
I'm against that.
Did Mylan just call Pope a Nazi?
I'm pretty sure he did.
I didn't say that.
Always double down.
Oh man!
All right.
I think it's very fascinating. Like the universe.
It is fascinating.
Yeah, the universe that Destiny exists in is so vast and has so much potential. Like that. That's why I get so excited when I hear about new things that are coming to Destiny, and I don't want them to hold back. I don't want them to hold back on the stories. Like I want them to double down on what they can tell, and just really give us interesting stuff. Like more of that Saint 14 stuff. Like I wanted more Osiris information, and it was like Osiris shows up, and I was like, Osiris, and he's like, I gotta go.
You're like, Osiris. He's like, dude. And then at the end, you're like, man, this was great. He's like, yeah, I'm like going.
You want to get a beer? I'm gonna be over here. Just come.
I'm like, Osiris, I wouldn't mind doing a fetch quest for you, Osiris. Like normally I hate fetch quests, but for you, I'll do it, man. And he's like, I gotta go.
Osiris as a character is so weird though, because there's like 3 different versions of Osiris. There's the Osiris that we knew from lore, or barely knew from lore. There's the Osiris that we saw in the game, and then there's Osiris in the comic book, and all 3 of those people are like 3 completely different fucking people.
I didn't read the comic books.
I didn't read either.
Different, right?
There's a lot of anger about the comic books, to be honest. My biggest gripe with the comic books is Brother Vance, and Brother Vance is the biggest fanboy, and he just wasn't that in Destiny 1. But at the same time, I think I didn't like that. That doesn't mean that it's bad, but I always just had a different image of what Brother Vance was and who he was, and then the comic book was vastly different from that. You know, some people might enjoy that he's just been a poser the whole time. And he's a massive fanboy. Whereas in Destiny 1, like, he talks about becoming more than a guardian, and there's hints of like, you know, Osiris's followers being time travelers and having extra powers and reaching a level of, you know, elevating beyond a guardian. And then it turns out that they were just fangirling out, basically. I had an issue with that. And there was some sort of small things to do with continuity with Destiny 1 lore, and there was some sort of backlash with that, and also how there were also comments that all the Grimoire cards was folklore, which got a lot of people. sort of the wrong way. And I don't think it was sort of malicious in calling it folklore. And the intention was that sometimes in Grimoire cards, it is an opinion and people talk from their point of view. For example, the Books of Sorrow is Oryx's point of view. Does that make it truth? Well, it's Oryx's truth. So I think that's what the comment about folklore was. But what it felt like was very dismissive to the universe that they had built prior, and the didn't necessarily take into consideration. And this is a new shining canon that we should look towards, and it's sort of not.
Yeah, I'm with you, Tefty. I wanted us to be able to develop that history with Osiris, and I could have totally seen these next DLCs being centered around one of these major characters in the grimoire, right? I just really feel like we could have connected with them. And I mean,
I felt like they could have arced Osiris over a couple DLCs personally. Like first
He's
DLC,
such a big story.
Yeah, like introduce
such
him,
a big story.
give quest lines, have us actually interact and get like loot and so on and so forth, and have him open up end game activities. And the next DLC would be him, expanding the problems that he's discovered in the future timeline or something like that, and going further as becoming one of Osiris's disciples essentially, and then gaining whatever type of things that might have been elevating above Guardian. So then you have those tools, and then all of a sudden it's like the Taken Queen expansion. You use those tools in that.
I don't think we'll ever get that.
I know.
We've talked. Yeah, like we've talked.
I'm well aware.
It's weird and crazy with the story. Like the universe that Bungie has built is kind of weird. It's all over the place. It's like very intriguing. There's a lot of mystery. I want them to double down on that. And with the Osiris DLC, we kind of got like, there's a bad guy. We're gonna go fight him. We kill him. Just happened that Osiris was around.
Yeah. It just happened to be that he was the one that was in the in the time machine in the forest.
The cold kind of reality of it is like for a game studio is for them to sell a thing, it like has to be a neatly wrapped up package story. It's
or they could do what other games have done, and they could appeal to the niche audience that loves that stuff. And they could just go down that avenue.
Yeah, I mean,
there's a lot of them out there.
Look at Horizon Zero Dawn. Like it's very much a focused like niche type of story that they're telling right there, and it was very well received with a lot of great mechanics and so on and so forth for their story. So I think they could.
I think it, coming down to the like game studio comment, it has a lot of truth to it, because when they had the writing team on, and you listen to the process of it, and you understand the logistics of making a game, it's like you can't suspend one team whilst you write a story, and then they make the gameplay and weapons for that. And so when you hear them talk about it, okay, you've got one dev that's just made like the Cold Heart. The story for Cold Heart wasn't written first. Someone thought that would be a cool thing to have, and then the story was looped into it, and then it was named, and then it was given flavor text based on how it looked in its appearances. And I feel like sometimes that is a real negative for Destiny, because it doesn't have a strong narrative lead, and then the gameplay comes after it. But I understand that that's the logistics of making a game. You got to be doing things in parallel. So people are writing stories whilst people are making weapons, and then you try to jigsaw them together, right?
Right.
Yeah, that's
true.
true.
So Osiris could have been anybody. They're like, let's put Osiris in there. That'd be great.
It's actually kind of interesting that you're talking about that. It's a bit off topic, but you guys know Valve, company famous for Half-Life 3.
Never heard of it.
No. Yeah, exactly.
Small company.
They're coming out with
Half-Life 3 actually never came out. I don't know if you're aware of that, Patrick.
It's a bit of a joke.
Are you a time traveler?
Yes. So they have like a new game coming out. Oh my God, Valve releasing an actual game, and it's a card collecting game similar to like Hearthstone or Magic, but it's all online. The guy that's developing it, Richard Garfield, is the guy that made Magic. He's one of the most prolific game creators out there and widely considered to be one of the best. He was making the game before he realized, like, he was just making it and then ended up going to Valve to be like, oh, wait, the mechanics of this game work with your property already. They work with like Dota. So can we do that? So it's kind of the same vein as just making stuff, in an actual game like Destiny.
Yeah.
They're just make a weapon, then you design the lore around it, or you have two separate things and then just pop them together.
Mm-hmm.
So in Jason Schreier's book, I think it's called Blood, Sweat, and Pixels, he talks about like 8 different games being developed, and one of them was the canceled game Star Wars 1313, and he talks about how that game was originally not related to Star Wars at all, and then LucasArts wanted to inject Star Wars into it, so they made a completely brand new character story, made it really cool where you're like a mercenary on Coruscant, and like you're deep into the underworld of Star Wars. And then George Lucas himself saw it looked good, and said, okay, but I want the main character to be Boba Fett. So then they had to redo the whole game
Oh my
to make the main character of that game Boba Fett. And it's like, like you gotta roll with these punches. Obviously that game never came
George
out.
Lucas.
And, if you look back, I think we saw the trailer in 2016.
It was a while ago.
No,
15?
Star Wars 1313 was earlier than that. It was like before Destiny was ever shown.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't remember actually when we saw the trailer, but I mean,
it was in like
trailer looked
05 and 7.
stupendous.
Yeah, it did.
It looks stupendous. And it just never came out. But I mean, it's like those are the kind of things you got to think about. Like, you don't always, when you work at a company, what do they have? 800 people working on Destiny 2?
Something like that.
Yeah, your idea for the last word in the Thorn storyline getting continued in Destiny 2 might not work out because we've got other ideas.
Well, and also to continue that like thought process is that somebody with the power of, say, George Lucas comes in and says, "This is great, but can you completely rewrite the story for a different character?" and it was probably just like, I think this would actually work nicely with Boba Fett. Yeah, go do that, and not thinking about how many hours and how much work and so on and so forth for somebody of that level to just cast a comment like that to say.
Well, we saw that happen with Destiny 1.
Well,
right?
and that's what I'm saying. Like, I feel like that is exactly what's happening in Bungie HQ right now. The team leads are just like, well, no, I'm pretty sure we want to go this way with the loot. I'm sorry, you're wrong. We're right. Yeah.
I would love the reins to be, given to Ryder and to be like, yeah, this is the story, and we're going to commit to it and stick to it. And everything's going to come around that rather than sort of the jigsaw approach. But I don't know if that's logistically possible. But I feel like it needs to, you look at some of look at like The Witcher 3 or The Witcher series. Like, that's based on a book. Like, the story was there, and we fit all this stuff around it.
That's a video game.
What was it?
That's a video game he's talking about right now. It's a
Never heard of it.
open world game.
Don't know what it is.
It's the best video game, actually.
The best?
You should try it.
I doubt. Doubtful. I would have played it by now.
No, it is. It's the best video game.
The best game ever?
Just the best.
The best.
Yeah.
The best video
when
game.
you talk about the best video game, it's assumed that
How do you play video games on Netflix? This makes no sense.
You plug in an Xbox or a PC into a controller, and you download. I don't know. Actually, Patrick mentioned it earlier. This thing called Steam.
I don't believe
Have you
you.
heard of that? I know you're not much of a PC guy, so I'm going to tell you.
Might be a little over your head, Tefty. I don't know.
Does it get at least 30 FPS?
Oh, yeah.
It gets all the way up to 60.
Well,
that was the DLC for Gwen.
So, Mylan, how could they make the lore better for, how could a DLC make the lore better in your eyes?
I think
it's an accessibility. Is it in the game? Where do they put their efforts?
We've spoken about some of that, and one of it is the accessibility. So having a way for people to link some of the background and lore into what they're seeing in game, because that's the cool thing about the lore is you're like, oh, this gun has this backstory, and then you get the drop. You're like, oh my god, I got Galahorn, the gun that was made at Twilight Gap by the bodies of the armor of XYZ, and it adds an extra layer of enjoyment, understanding how powerful that weapon. That comes into that power fantasy. It's not just about the mechanic of the gun and how the gun functions, but knowing that when you fire Galahorn, you're firing, the wolf pack rounds, which represents all the people that fell at Twilight Gap. Mm-hmm. And people that go and look at that, then that weapon becomes more significant for them. And they don't want to delete that. They want to leave that in their vault to understand that that's what that weapon is. So accessibility is one thing. And I don't know the answer to that. I don't know how – I don't think lore tabs worked and Grimoire cards weren't ideal either. I don't know how you inject that into the game and make it more accessible. But
I actually like
think
the Grimoire card idea. Like, I liked that idea. I like going out and collecting ghosts or collecting exotics, and your part of your reward was not only the gun or collecting the ghost and getting like a Grimoire score. Part of it was you get a little like piece of lore knowledge. Now, if that was revealed to you at the moment you got it, and then added to a codex, I think that's fantastic, because the way it was in Destiny 1 was super inelegant. The fact that it was on a website, not in the game, it was really inelegant, but it gave so many things. It gave a reason to go out and look for ghosts. It gave backstory to the world that we were exploring. It was so rich and deep. Arguably though, we got some pretty good stuff with Destiny 2 as far as lore goes. Like, if you do the adventures and the stories, there's much more of a cohesive story. There's much more background, like, by playing the game than we ever got in Destiny.
It's more playable story.
Right? Like,
and that's why I wish they put special things in adventures, because adventures are amazing.
They're fun.
But most people don't do them because it's like, well, if you're not super deep into the lore, then why would you really go and do adventures? Because what are you getting out of it?
Right.
Yeah,
I feel like that some of the, so they have these destination armor pieces, right? Mm-hmm. Specific adventures on those planets. I was secretly hoping that we would be getting these skins, or like what we call ornaments now, on these, through these adventures, right? That would be reminiscent artistically of what the adventure you were on. So you went in, and the adventures have modifiers to them that changed weekly. And it's just something that the replayability factor, and the fact that you can go and, I want my character to look like this, and so I'm going to go do that. Mm-hmm. Those missions, those adventures on that planet.
I think those adventures and missions come in the same category as an exotic quest line. Like, exotic quest lines typically do have a lot of lore, and people who want to read it can get that information from the NPC as they're talking. And if you're not interested, at the end of the day, you still get an exotic weapon. And so, those kind of quest lines that motivate all types of players to end to end, to get to that goal, the exotic quest, the piece of armor, I think is probably a good mechanism to deliver more lore through. So, get some of the team to write a story first, and then get someone to make a gun based on that story, and then inject that into the game. Mm-hmm. Like Last Word and Thorn had this epic story, but they were also great exotics. So people wanted them because they were really high performing exotics, but there was also this epic proportion of a storyline behind it as well. So I would love to see some exotic quests with matching.
How many people even just research the story just because they love the gun so much too?
Well, that's another thing, right? Yeah, you want to know more about it, and also having things linked to adventures and lore, and knowing where your stuff comes from and knowing the meaning makes your loot meaningful, which is something that we are so very lacking in Destiny 2. We don't know where it's from, what the meaning is. So I think just doing that, it hits positives for every kind of player, whether you're into lore, whether you just want something that looks cool, and it also makes things feel meaningful.
Yeah. Do we know?
And I think I hope it takes. Sorry, Tef. I hope that there's so much emphasis on mechanics to make things meaningful and skins and things for it to look different. I hope that lore doesn't sit on the back burner, and that they understand that it's a combination of lore, backstory, and that the gun functions, that it's got good mechanics, and that it feels powerful. Yeah.
It's everything. It's putting everything together to make you want to have that and feel accomplished when you get it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
it's mixing everything.
The power fantasy is a lot more than just making you able to kill monsters easily.
Yes,
it is a lot of that package.
It's playing into the fantasy, and the more we know about the fantasy, the better it is.
Exactly. Do we know who Ariel is in Ariel's Gift?
I thought you were talking about the mermaid.
Ariel?
Now I realize you're
not. Ariel.
It's Ursula and Ariel mixed together. And now a horrific monster.
I can't say I've looked into that weapon.
Because I was like, a lot of people use Ariel's Gift. I wonder if anybody searches, what's the lore on Ariel's Gift?
What was a gift?
It's a gift.
Next lore video.
It's a gift.
And Ariel gave it.
Yeah.
She was like, this is a gun that when using a controller magically gets headshots.
For days. Yeah. Oh my god, you should try it with a Zim, Tefty.
It doesn't miss.
Well, that's the point, right? Like you want there to be a match between the top tier weapons and a backstory.
Yes.
Like it sucks that everyone uses that and there's no story behind it. Well, not that I've looked into it, but I don't think there is. But
It's
you
just
compare that to
Uriel.
Last Word and Thought.
It's just Uriel. Who is this Uriel?
One of
Sounds like
Omelan's
a mermaid.
top designers was like, "This is my last gun."
But it's a good one. You're gonna love it and hate it at the same time.
Oh, funny.
That's my list. Accessibility and what you guys are saying about, you know, exotic quests and adventures and that sort of embedment into the actual gameplay and sort of lore being equal with gameplay mechanics.
Absolutely. When I first read up on Icebreaker, I was like, "Is there a possibility that this thing might actually kill me in battle?" Because they're, you know, talking about it being volatile. Like that, I was like, this thing might actually create an instance where I die because of using the Icebreaker, because it's, you know, it's like a prototype or something. And I thought that was
I
so
think they
cool.
should have put that in there, like 1 out of a million
Yes,
chance.
Yeah.
I was
They
just going to say,
totally
just,
should have.
1 out of 1,000 shots, all of a sudden,
Definitely.
boom, blows up in front of your face.
Yeah.
While I'm hiding behind a doorway trying to solo a Nightfall.
Well, that's why the little meter's on it, right? It starts going red, and then you're like, "Oh boy, if I shoot while I'm in the red, I might blow up."
yeah,
That would
like,
be super cool.
Imagine that when you first got that gun, and then all these people start like, you know, Reddit forum. Why does my gun keep blowing up? You know, like,
That'd be amazing.
description, you know, it's a prototype.
Read the lore.
That's the whole point.
Yeah.
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 Yeah, because I legit.
Yeah, they just don't be afraid to do stuff like that. Like
Mhm.
seriously, that's
Yes.
I want Bungie to not be afraid to do stuff like that.
Yep.
I agree. I think they'd really commit and to have fun with that kind of stuff. Me and Gamma Trap is the artist that does all my my work on the YouTube channel, and we often talk about the trapdoor theory, which is the lost idea that there's a trapdoor on the island, and basically writers can use that trapdoor to explain anything. So if something contradicts it, it's their escape route to provide explanation to a story that maybe isn't very congruent. So I would like them. And I feel like they often do that. Oh, no, they, you know, that's just an impression, or that's just what their thoughts are. I would like them to get rid of the trapdoor theory.
Yeah.
Everything we say is lore, is canon. We are committing to this. This is what happened, and you can take it or leave it. If you want to read more, you know, we are agreeing that these are the events that happened in the universe of Destiny, and really commit to it, and not sort of have, oh, but it could have been this or it could have been that, and sort of really see some follow through with the story.
Yeah.
I don't know, man. That sounds like it's gonna make your job easier, but I really like the mystery of the Destiny universe, and I like going to your channel and how you say, well, it could mean this, and I'm pretty sure it does, but there's this ambiguity and there's this ambiguity. I actually really like that about watching your video, right? It's like, yeah, we think this is what the Traveler is, but we're not positive.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That mystery, that letting that kind of hang out there, as long as it gets solved someday. It needs to get solved someday, unlike Lost.
Yes.
But I do like having that mystery as like it kind of travels with me through my journey with Destiny.
I as a content creator, if they got rid of mystery, my channel would probably collapse on itself, because I think that is 100% the appeal, is that there is options.
Mystery
And
is fun too.
maybe I didn't word it the right way,
like
but I
mystery.
just think like I guess when I make those videos, I rely on there being mystery, but also knowing that when someone said something, they actually did say it. And so I guess that's sort of what I mean is you can't create a theory if everything's built on, oh, that could have happened or it couldn't have happened. Do you know what I mean? So keep the mystery in it, but the components that make that mystery, like, yeah, that happened. You know, that happened at Twilight Gap. Shax did say that. Saladin did say that. And we can put that all together to craft a theory, but there's some level of sort of commitment to things that are said in the cards or in the game is actually what is said, or, you know, truthful.
Are you saying that's kind of partly what we've lost going from D1 to D2? There seems to be less like, well, here's things because of no Grimoire cards, no concrete information in the cards anymore.
I honestly, when they said they were shelving like Destiny 1 like stuff and getting rid of Grimoire cards, my gut reaction was, I feel like such a fool for crafting theories and taking this stuff seriously. That's actually was my gut feeling. I took, that item had that flavor text because a writer wanted you to find it, not because it was random, not because that was only on my to-do list today and I just thought I'd write something. That everything had a purpose. And that created the mystery and allowed you to craft a theory. And when they said we're getting rid of that, I just felt like I feel so stupid for taking that lore seriously.
That's powerful.
Yeah,
it's so sad.
It's an important statement.
It's
seriously.
I mean, because there's a handful of you guys that really delved into it and really got me excited about the game. And I when I hear you guys talk about the lore and explain what's going on in the Destiny universe, I get closer to the game. I get closer to it, and it's just, I'm with you on there. I didn't see it in that perspective, but that really just kind of cheapens that whole thing for you.
Yes, and I think that's where I'm trying to say about the commitment and the trapdoor theory. Like it is that commitment to, this is the Destiny universe that we are creating, and everything we put in there is a breadcrumb trail. And if you want to find the story, you can. And so hopefully that.
Oh my goodness, yeah. Well, and it's this concept of Briar, right? You're saying we don't have. They're not telling us everything. They're these hidden secrets, these hidden pieces of flavor text and things that we find and scan. They're all going to help paint a picture that's out there, right? But we're not going to have all the answers, and we're going to get. The community is going to be talking like Mylan and Bife, and there's a good group of you guys that are developing these storylines, and it does nothing but excite the community.
It does.
It's great.
It does.
That's the thing. Yeah, lore. When I hear people talking about lore, it gives you a different level of excitement about the world that you're in. Like it reinvigorates that excitement of, oh man, I really want to know more about that. I want to see that. I want to get that gun. So I want more of that. I think it's a big shame that we don't have cards anymore.
I sort of compare it to Dark Souls, right? Because if you look at like Dark Souls lore videos, every item like that has meaning. Like whatever's written there, it will lead to something, and nothing is it goes somewhere. And if you don't know where it goes, it's because you don't know enough information yet. Yeah. And, people might ask the director, what does that mean? Like, it does mean something. You just haven't found it yet. I would love for that feeling to be in Destiny 2 with the way the lore is presented. That if I read something and I don't know it, I don't know what it means.
Is that why people have that connection with Dark Souls? It seems like not only, I mean, it seems like there's these multiple parts. Like the gameplay is challenging and rewards skill and repetition and mastering the what's being asked to you. But then that's the first I had heard of. I haven't played it really, so that's the first I've heard of that lore piece of it. But there seems to be like a fanatical.
Makes you feel connected.
There's a very popular game amongst game developers where how we have a swear jar. Well, this isn't really a popular game, but I saw it on Twitter once. Instead of a swear jar, it's a jar that says put $1 in every time you reference Dark Souls during a meeting. Dark Souls is it has its own genre, Soulsborne type games where there's little breadcrumbs of lore built in there, but just enough for you to kind of understand what's going on. But an expansive world opens up once you really peer under the depths of what you're actually killing, and then the combat itself isn't like investive enough where you really you don't die in Dark Souls because something's bullshit. You die because you fucked up.
Well, with Dark Souls though, there's
most often
there's an overarching story that has been written and understood before all that lore is written, right? And before that story is laid out. And I don't think that's true about Destiny.
No,
I don't think that. I used to think this, and I'm positive it's not true anymore, is that I used to think there's like some kind of a story arc Bible, that this is going to be the story of Destiny for the 10-year plan, right? I just don't believe that. Well, it might have been, and it got rewritten because, they nuked it. So when you start talking about lore, like like that story, I don't think they're kind of making it up as they go. So the lore has to change based on maybe who's in charge of Destiny right now. You know, the guys who were in charge of Destiny 1 aren't the same guys who are in charge of Destiny 2.
And
the
writers are
you
definitely
guys keeping
changed.
track of the writers? Yeah.
The writers have 100% changed. And it's really interesting. Like if you play Bloodborne, you can get a story from just walking around the levels. You can tell what's happened to the town. You can tell that the commoners have lost their mind and things have. There's a story that is told from just walking down the street or in any of those levels. Yeah, exactly. And that's the kind of experience that I feel like we tried to get from the Grimoire in Destiny. And I completely understand what you say when in D2 they're like, well, we're going to rearrange things and it's different now. And that's a big slap in the face because you walk down the street in these areas, and if Bloodborne 2 came out and said none of the old god stuff or whatever, the one
the
reborn,
moon is not actually relevant in any of this.
Yeah, like
it wouldn't happen, right?
Yeah, the church
totally wouldn't.
Yeah,
happen.
the Church of the Old Blood and the New Blood and so on and so forth is completely irrelevant now. People would lose their minds.
Of course, yeah.
And not in a good lose their minds.
No.
They would be like, the world is coming to an end. You guys have lost your mind. So it's
Bloodborne has those same discovery moments too. Like you let's say you didn't trigger like Father Gascoigne's kid or something, and when you do trigger that event, all of a sudden you realize, oh no, now I feel really bad. I just killed that kid's dad.
Yeah.
You know, and it's got this secondary storyline that starts running.
Whoa, I hadn't played it yet. Jeez, man.
No, Pope, seriously, if you haven't played it, it's free this month on PlayStation.
Free to play this month.
Everyone should play it.
I downloaded it.
It is an amazing game.
Is. Yeah.
It's so good.
I started
it's the best game
it.
I've ever played at 20 FPS in my entire life.
The hell, that's on the Pro.
It's an amazing experience. It's the type of game that you go in and you feel extremely foreign to. Like you see these weird little dudes on the floor, and like there's a doll and so on and so forth, and all of it actually connects and makes sense. It's just
together perfectly.
Yeah, you just don't know it at all when you first play it, and that's what's crazy.
Yes, yes, that would be great to see
in Destiny, right?
And it feels like I think we've all come to sort of lament this concept where we feel like Destiny 2 was made for a different audience, right? Yes. And that brushstroke was taken across PvP, it was taken across PvE, and it seems like, after talking to you, Mylan, it seems like it really did that or tried to do that with the lore as well. Sort of made it, vanilla ice cream, right?
Yeah.
Well, don't you insult vanilla ice cream?
Yeah.
It's just delicious.
Well, lacking flavor other than the vanilla.
Vanilla has flavor.
Yeah. I think
vanilla
that,
it's a little splash pool for kids instead of a deep.
It's the flavor of boring.
Yeah, I mean, where's the caramel?
I'm gonna start my own podcast, and it's gonna be
called the Vanilla Podcast. Yeah,
vanilla.
I mean.
Everyone talks about Vanilla Destiny. There we go.
Yeah,
bringing it back.
We only play D1 without any expansions.
Yeah, you can't even do that anymore.
We just
you can if you play on, if you play on like Xbox.
Oh right, you got the Taken King version.
PS3. The good meta.
The good meta.
Maybe that's where I'm gonna go. That's where I'm going.
This is an interesting thing, right? If you think about where the DLCs have gone, right? Or where Destiny's gone. We've had the story of the Hive. We've had the story of the Fallen and House of Wolves. We've had some of the Vex in, vanilla Destiny. We've had the story of the Cabal now with the Emperor. We've done Osiris, and we're likely going to get the War Minds. They are very quickly going to be running out of foundational topics. We've had the Iron Lords, Rise of Iron.
Mm-hmm.
Their world that they built, they're covering in DLCs. Nick, what happens when that foundation starts running out? And because they're not really introducing new lore. Destiny 2 didn't introduce really anything new lore-wise. So, we've got Clovis Bray War Minds. We've probably got the Awoken Exos coming through, if that's not already covered. So Destiny really needs to start introducing new lore if they want to keep DLCs coming out. Like we've covered all the major enemies. A new enemy has to come out soon to produce something to talk about.
Well, and also for people's interest too. That was one of the main things that people saw going from D1 to D2 that weren't really in the. They weren't really invested in Destiny. They saw D2 and they're like, "Wait, there's no new enemies. I played this stuff in like the Taken King." Yeah, and that they need that not only for lore but also just in general for the game.
I think so.
Yeah, definitely.
To keep interest.
Yeah,
we are going to have an opportunity to come back through the conversations and through some of the questions that you guys asked of Mylan, some more lore material. But do you guys want to jump into the TWAB? We normally like cover that right off. It's a TWAB.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a patch waiting room is what it is.
There it is.
It's a patch waiting room. It sounds like a TWAB more than a TWAB to me.
It's a TWAB waiting room.
They even quoted stuff that they said in October.
I think it's unfair to be so binary about whether or not this is a good update or a bad update.
I mean,
no, we're talking about the TWAB.
You're not going to be able to give us like groundbreaking TWABs every week, right? But we can still say within this one, there's not that much information that you maybe want to go look at.
Yeah. They basically, I think the biggest thing in here is they talk a little bit more about Nightfall rewards. They did kind of flesh out how you earn them. The items, the new Nightfall rewards will be drops, and the harder you make the difficulty on the Nightfall, the higher the chance of getting the drop.
I like that. I like that a lot.
Yeah,
which includes using a challenge card.
Yep.
Yeah.
The problem I think that they have with this is similar to the random roll problem in that once you get this, you've got it, and you never have to do it again. Yep. They did earlier this week talk a little bit on Twitter. They asked, "Would you guys like to see this stuff teased, or do you want to keep it a secret until it's actually released?" And they do mention that they are going to keep this secret until it's released. So we're not going to get a look at the weapon models. We're not going to get a look at the perks until it's actually released.
And I love that. I love that they asked as well. I love that they saw people being like, "We don't want to see this," and they were like, "Okay, we see that you guys are talking about that. What do you want?" And then they made a decision.
It always felt like they killed the surprise in like a major way.
We haven't had
the
that
Instagram account that shows the
God
exotics.
Oh, do you remember that? That just
every
drove
day
me.
I woke up and I was like, "What?
Stop! Stop it!
Stop it!
Don't!
Stop it!"
But you gotta look, right? You gotta look.
Oh yeah, we're content creators, so we have to look. But no, like here's an example of you're damned if you do, you're damned if you don't. There's a huge portion of the community that's like, hey, we don't want to see this stuff. We want to discover it for ourselves because, well, let's face it, there's zero aspects of discovery left in the game. Stop showing us shit for like a patch. Just let us do it. And then like I'm not throwing shade at More Console here, but More Console posts like right after the TWAB goes, "Man, it's a shame. I really would have liked to see some of the weapons in the TWAB. Would have made it better for me." No. It's like, you can't fucking win. You're on Bungie's side. You can't win.
No. Oh, I would like to
There is a way they can win. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
I would like to just say about what Christopher Barrett tweeted earlier about those Nightfall specific drops. He said that each terrible villain that players face should have a very rare and powerful unique item themed to them that tumbles to the ground as they collapse into a pile of bones. Oh, when I saw that, I was like, that is what I want.
And that unique weapon will have a lore tab.
Yes.
It's better. That would be
have an awesome story that expands the universe a little bit.
We're doing a strike, and there is not only story in the strike, but there's more lore from why that strike is important.
So Christopher Barrett, I think, has raised the bar here with that statement, though, because now when we see these, they cannot be weapon reskins.
Nope.
No.
Definitely not.
And they have to be powerful and unique.
Yes, you said powerful and unique. So
if they are weapon reskins, you're gonna hear it.
Yes.
And if they are the same perks that we're used to seeing in like every other type of weapon,
they have to have special perks.
They gotta be unique. They gotta be special.
They
gotta be powerful.
Mm-hmm.
I'm okay with not seeing them.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm okay with that.
But they better be good.
Yep. Yeah, they gotta be good. They gotta be good, so it spreads word, and then people start saying, "Yeah, this weapon's really cool." It's a lot of fun, and also has a story behind it because he killed what's his nuts, and great. Oh,
hey Briar,
not
do
killing
this.
Shadow Thief. Yeah,
Briar, do this.
yeah, you got a spider
Oh,
or a fly.
gross.
That was so close.
But I really now I'm sort of excited about. I think it might be false hope if there's going to be a story behind each boss. But I really hope
I sure hope
There
not.
has to be. There seriously has to be. I would be surprised if they're like unique and powerful and specific rewards, and then there's no story.
They delayed them, right?
They
They
did.
delayed them so they could
They
do
did
them
delay
right.
them. Yes.
Now let's hope that their interpretation of what right is ours.
Yeah,
Good point. Good
I
point.
have faith in Christopher Barrett.
I mean, he didn't do us wrong in year one, right?
He talks a good game. Let's see him deliver.
He did once already, right?
did he?
What do you deliver on?
Yeah, what did he do?
Yeah.
What was it before?
Wasn't he in charge of the turnaround for in year one? In Destiny 1?
I don't know.
I believe he was.
What
I
are you
believe
talking
he
about
was-
specifically?
Well,
When you say
the
turnaround.
whole
Age of
the
Triumph?
whole no the
Taken King was Luke
Did he
Smith.
add weapon bloom? He added hand cannon bloom?
oh my god, you guys! I think he was. I think he was part of or he was the leader of the group that was brought in to turn around, and where we eventually got into the Taken King and
No, Taken
thought
King
that was
was
Luke Smith.
Luke Smith did Taken King.
who was. God, he was involved in some way. He was involved in the
April
live
update?
team, wasn't he?
I thought he was
April
live
update?
team. Yeah.
Maybe he did.
Yeah,
last
but
night.
I
House
mean-
of Wolves, and then Chris was part of Rise of Iron.
Mm-hmm.
Rise of Arms,
Mm.
pretty cool.
I feel.
Look, Chris has a good track record.
Yeah, he's got a great track record. I think
He
this.
is Bungie's sweeper bot.
Yeah, I think this highlights part of the problem that they're having is that they keep on having these leads. Somebody else is working on their next big update, and the leads keep changing.
Then they hand it over.
Yeah, and there's no continuity of like, okay, this is a fun loot experience. This is a fun story experience. This is a fun PvP experience. They keep all changing hands, and somebody's like, why did you do this? The other guy's like, I'm working on this right now. You can't talk
I
to me.
don't know. I gotta go do this. You
Hey,
fix
you know
that.
what?
Yeah.
What I really want them to do is make a weekly meeting with Chris Barrett and whoever is the lead on Destiny 3. Weekly, like daily. They spend an hour together and just say, "Hey, this is how we're making the game better. You should
sounds
make
like a
D3
lot of
also like
management.
that." What's
That
that?
sounds like a lot of management.
Oh, all I'm saying is that I don't want to do the recycling.
No, I
from
agree.
D1 to 2.
All I'm saying is I don't know if Bungie HQ is organized like that to have those kind of like inner discussions about the projects, because it feels like they split off heavily.
Who were the two leads on Destiny 2? It was Luke Smith and
Mark Noseworthy.
Mark Noseworthy. Mark Noseworthy was on Twitter
They
this
basically
week
always
talking.
they basically been a team.
Mark Noseworthy this week was talking about why he doesn't talk about Destiny 2, and he kind of heavily implied, in my eyes, that he's working on Destiny 3 right now.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, he said he's literally not working on Destiny 2 right now, so don't talk to him about it.
There is some more stuff in the swab.
I really
in
hope
regards to-
that they talk about Destiny 2 together.
Well, in
Like,
regards to
go out to
competitive
lunch.
matchmaking, there's some stuff with. Hey, remember how we always wanted people to there to be penalties for people leaving in anything really?
Yeah.
Well, we're finally getting it in competitive matchmaking for PvP. Just competitive playlist. Just competitive playlist. Basically, if you leave for any reason, if you do it enough, you will get a 30-minute quitter penalty. Cool. Glad.
do we
they're
have a
punishing
number?
that.
Do we have a number?
Because here's the exact quote. Because the competitive playlist disables join in progress, leaving matches early for any reason can ruin people's games. Starting 1.1.4, we are adding a system that can issue temporary restrictions, 30 minutes in length for habitual quitters. We have no.
All right, I have no problem with this, but let me tell you something from a teaching standpoint.
Okay.
You never approach a problem, a student or an issue, without when you're presenting a problem child, or like someone that's leaving games, right?
Uh-huh.
There's issues where you apply the stick and the carrot, right? If it's all stick and no carrot, you're not getting a behavioral change. You're not listening to as well as you're talking, right? You're not listening to the students' problems or the issues that they're having. So in this particular instance, I like the fact that they're developing the stick, but the carrot needs to also be addressed. Why are people leaving? People are leaving the competitive playlist because they don't want to effing play the game mode that is being presented to them.
You're not wrong.
No, I know. I'm not.
When I leave specifically, it's because I get teamed up. You know, I'm solo queuing and I get matched up against a team of 4. I see they all have the same clan tag, and I'm like, "Fuck this, I'm out."
And then people are using those. People are using their clan banners, the KD banners, as a way of intimidating people in trials to get them to quit out and all that stuff. But so they need to address the root things that make people want to leave. And I think, and like Briar is saying, that's one of them. One of them for me personally is that they can't have just 2 playlists. It seems idiotic that every other first person shooter game out there has Rumble, 1v1s, 2v2s, 4v4s. Let's give people their options in playlists and stop this nonsense of 2 playlists. So there's the carrot. We're giving you a playlist where you go in and you want to play Control, you're going to play Control. And you're not going to quit out when that other one comes in. What's the other one? Countdown? Right?
Countdown's in competitive.
Right. So you're not going to leave when Countdown comes in because you don't want to play Countdown, right? So that's all I'm saying is that I hope that they address the problem in its entirety instead of just half of it.
No, I agree. We talked about that all the way back in D1. How if they applied that to like strikes. They're like, okay, we can issue a quitting penalty on strikes because tons of people are leaving them. But why are they quitting? Oh, they're too long. Some bosses have too much health. They're not interesting. They're not fun. Okay, let's focus on that. So I agree, Pope. But at the same time, you're going into the competitive playlist. It's supposed to be, you have the mindset of a competitive player. You are playing to win. So, eventually, people keep leaving. They keep getting that 30-minute thing. They're like, okay, I fucking hate this.
Now, and then they quit playing Destiny. It's like the competitive playlist should be like a file search folder. I want to be competitive tonight. I want to have no radar. I want to have voice in, voice opt out chat. I want to have these things. I want to play competitive games tonight. I want a ranked system. I want all these things. So I'm going to go into that competitive folder and I open it up. And inside that playlist is these things. Right? Where I can go into and do something that I want to do. I want to be competitive in 1v1, and I want to show that I have a player card that puts me in the top 10% of 1v1 players. Or not 1v1, but like a Rumble, right? Mm-hmm. That's what gets me going as a competitive player. I loved Hardcore Search and Destroy. I hated the other game modes in the Hardcore playlist, but I would rock the shit out of Hardcore Search and Destroy in COD. If I had been forced to do a rotation of other games, I wouldn't have played it. I wouldn't have. No matter how much I loved it.
Do you think that's due to the player base at the moment now with PvP? And I'm sort of interested, like Briar, like
the cause of the player base.
Will you go into competitive now as a solo queuer, knowing that there is restrictions? Are we going to isolate solo queuers from competitive? And maybe the argument should be you should. I don't know. Like, are there going to be less people?
Last time I did rank Crucible, or not rank Crucible. Last time I did competitive was to get the ornament helmet. Right? Because I had to get 25 wins. I grinded that for however long it took. And that's the last time I entered there. The next time I'll enter that arena is when they add the ranking system to try out the ranking system. And if the ranking system is good and it's satisfying and it's fun, that's the carrot that Pope is talking about, right? Then yes, it'll be worth dealing with the stick of, frankly, when I quit out of a game, I don't really want to play for the next 30 minutes anyway. Like,
kind of done.
You got to find your controller on the other side of the room.
You got to order a new Scuf gaming controller and go DCP.
Yeah, hilarious. 30-minute ban isn't really gonna affect my life too much.
I will say though, the population thing is really tricky because I know people on PC are just matching up against the same teams on trials.
It happens to me all the time.
There's not many. If you look at the numbers that they post out, there's not many people playing on PC.
It's not even that much different in PS4 though. To be honest with you, I played with some guys that were like live in the Trials playlist, and every time we matched up the entire card, they're like, "Oh, that guy." They knew what loadout. They knew all about him.
Yeah, it's like less than 50,000 players each weekend now, right? Yeah. On all platforms?
Well, it's like less than 4,000, I think, on PC.
No, right, but like
PS4
total,
has like
for the whole world on all platforms over 4 days.
Here it is. Actually, it's in chat. 4K players on PC, 14K on Xbox, 25K on PS4.
From last week.
That's a big difference between PC and like PS4, for example.
4K and 25K. Like I remember.
What was the highlight?
You literally can match up against the same team for your entire card.
You will,
I'm
it's happened
on PC.
So if those people get, let's say you lose 3 times in a row, and then the 4th time you're like, well, I'm not gonna play these guys again. So you leave, so you hopefully get out of the queue or something. Now you're banned from playing for 30 minutes.
Well, it gives you time to not match up with the
yeah,
right.
That's how you promote a healthy ecosystem.
No, but
I think it's a chicken and egg thing. It's like, all right, so we don't have many players. Let's restrict the playlists. Okay, well, restricting playlists isn't going to bring players back.
Well, here. No, Mylan. Like, let's think back. This decision was made when there was a shitload of people playing Destiny. All right. So my argument isn't that like you can't prepare for what we have right now. You got to prepare for what we will have. Assuming they don't fuck up things and people start coming back and playing, let's create a game that people want to play.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, well, assuming that, like, let's make the assumption that the sandbox update is really good and it's fun.
Right.
Now you got the DLC coming out, so you could change the playlist with the next DLC when you get a sudden influx of players, right? It'd be a good time to do it. And then, so these people heard that the new sandbox is good. They're coming to check out the new DLC. I'll play a couple games of Crucible. Oh, look, they've added Rumble. They've added this. They've added that. Mm-hmm. Nice. Okay, maybe I'll stick around here for a couple of games.
Yeah, and let's just picture a world where these core playlists are present in both competitive and social areas with their different types of matchmaking and whatever. Let's pretend then that in this magical world, these special events that happen in PvP, that rotating playlist isn't Rumble or 6v6 or whatever they said. Let's say that rotating playlist is actually something interesting, like a themed event. Like they put in for, like they did for Crimson Days, right? But it
Rumble
happens
should be there all the time.
Event.
What Pope is talking about, I agree with that. That's the kind of shit that should be cycling in and out.
That should be
Mayhem, Iron Banner, maybe a faction rally kind of thing,
faction
maybe
wars,
doubles,
right?
Yeah, that stuff should be rotating in and out. Rumble should just be there all the time.
But
Rumble.
But Briar, I'm talking like unchain the PvP guys, unchain them. They get to make playlists like where's creativity like
have in Halo.
Right, like let's get VIP, let's get Oddball, let's get give us something where it's headshots only, right? What was that playlist? It was where it's you have to SWAT. Like let's do something creative with that rotating playlist that allows the PvP designers to go have fun and design shit.
I love it.
Anything else in this TWAB here? Security stuff, but they're just saying like, oh yeah, well we're gonna be able to respond faster to it.
There were
they can't exactly tell you how they're gonna find out.
They can't. They can't talk about any of it, and they never talk about really when bannings happen. So it's just like, all right, okay.
I mean, good. Security's getting better.
Cool.
Nice.
When playing
patch notes in here.
Yeah, when playing Crucible, activities repeat reduction will prevent players trying to play on the same strike or Crucible map many times in succession. It's going to be a little bit difficult for strikes because there's only like 5 of those fuckers.
Well, maybe it can go through 1 through 5 instead of 1, 1.
Well, it's going to if there's 6, it's going to go 1 through 5, and then I'm going to leave when it's Exodus, when it's Exodus crash.
Yeah. I play them all. I like them all.
I bet they put the best strike-specific weapon in that strike pad.
Mm-hmm. Which one?
I bet they
strike?
do. Exodus Crash.
Did you see the
Wait,
patch note on Exodus?
No. These strike specific weapons are only from Nightfalls, correct?
Yeah, but did you see what they said about Exodus?
Yeah, it's never going to be the Nightfall because
they haven't fixed the bug from day one of Exodus crash.
Yes.
Maybe it's fixed on Tuesday.
They said it's not happening this Tuesday because they still have not fixed that bug from it being the Nightfall.
They said it's hoping to come in at 1.2, which means like the DLC.
Well, prepare for that to have the best strike weapon.
I want to
be the best.
I want like a 5-minute Vidoc on how deep that bug was and how many SWAT teams it took to go in and pull that thing out. Because good God.
I wanted to also read.
That's the worst boss ever.
Oh, it's bad.
That's one of those things, though. That boss would be fantastic if he only disappeared twice.
Yeah.
That'd be a lot of fun, right? But they've got 7 layers of it. Why didn't they adjust it down to 3 or 4, where like after a quarter health, poof, he's gone. After a quarter health, poof, he's gone. Like I'd be like, okay, it's fine. But it
doesn't suck because it's hard. It sucks because it's fucking annoying.
Yeah.
Waiting for him to come back.
Yeah, exactly.
But what if his weapon enabled you to see invisible players and not lose aim assist at all?
Oh, that'd be great.
Oh my God. There
you go. Best weapon in the game.
Isn't there like a magical rule of 3 in video game development where it's like, how many waves of things we're going to make a fight? 3. How many times we're going to make Omnigul disappear? Like 3, 2 even. How many phases does she have? 3. How many times are we going to have to actually have a boss fight? We're going to be able to reset a encounter before it goes in rage. 3.
So let me ask you about that fight. You've got these outer rings. How many people actually go on the outer rings?
You generally can't because they're electrified.
Right. So there's an element in there where you need to kill these, the thingamabobbers, right? And
what are they called? Shanks? Electric shanks?
The electric shanks. So the floor isn't electrified, right?
Uh-huh.
There's that whole mechanic, that whole thing is not utilized. And you huddle up into the center, and there's no real movement of your characters. What if, like, you were forced to rotate to those platforms with the boss as they appear and disappear? Like, the creativity in that is just...
Oh, it feels like there was a mechanic, but it's just not there anymore. That's what it feels like to me. Because you have, like, all these little things
moving
that
parts,
make up a cool encounter, and then there's, like, that one thing missing that ties it all together. That's what it feels like to me.
You don't have to leave the center. As a matter of fact, you're holding each other's hands in the center and not moving. Like if you had to go to the outside and kill those shanks and grab an orb and dunk it in the center to get the boss to no longer be invisible, it electrifies him and then he's now visible. Create an element like that.
Where do that 3 times. Yeah. That'd be nice.
Right. You have to kill the shanks in that area, go get the charge, bring it back to the middle, and then the boss is no longer invisible. Right.
Sounds great.
Do that 3 times.
There's actually a interesting. I didn't see this. The increased max power handicap is going from 40 to 45 on Nightfall challenge cards. That's going to be fucking brutal. Oh my God.
Nice.
Yeah. Wow, that's going to be rough. Timer to activate patrol has been reduced from 3 to 1 second. That's a very small quality of life thing for people that actually like running patrols. 3 seconds to activate a patrol beacon is
unnecessary.
Now you can accidentally do it.
Yeah, good. Fixing an issue when previewing a shader on an item. You guys remember that where you try to?
It would. Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
Anyway, there's a lot of nice little updates coming in there.
I know it's something small, but I would love to be able to apply a shader to a
sword
piece of armor and be able to see your character a little bit further back than what you've got, right?
Like, yeah, agreed. We wanted that since D1.
The close up kind of sucks.
Yeah, you're like this on the image, right? And you're like, I kind of want to see
the better way to do that
it.
is to actually look at to preview the shader itself as opposed to.
It's like when you preview capes and you can't see the hood. Most important part, or the bottom of the cape. I don't know if it's a long cape, a short cape. I don't know.
Right, and I don't want to see that one shader. I want to see that one shader affecting my arm as it fits with my other shaders.
Right.
Right? Like you don't want to, like, that's where it's kind of ruins it for me, Briar. I want to like create interesting mix-ups of And if not, I'm just sitting there like applying the whole thing to the color, and then you lose that.
Yeah, let us zoom in and zoom out on the Guardian while he's in
Right,
there.
and spin him around and make him do something.
Yeah. How many people ended up with like crazy looking characters because you can't really spin the guy around when you're creating a character?
Yeah, you don't realize that bald haircut actually has a giant ponytail on the back, and you just have to see it.
Oh, great! Now I'm ponytail guy for 10 years.
I did want to point out in the
What are you saying that ponytails?
Damn it!
in the movie of the week section. I know I usually never talk about this, but the runner-up to getting lost is one of the guys that applied for the video editing position at for us, and he made a really nice little cinematic thing going over like all the lost sectors of D2.
Really? Nice.
Yeah, it's a really nice pre-chill video.
Cool.
I'll check that out after the show.
Yeah.
We got to do Twitter questions because we're running out of time.
I felt like there was something else I was supposed to talk about.
You were going to tell him about that thing, Patrick.
What thing?
I'm not talking about that yet. The doctor hadn't gotten back to me on it.
Oh, it's good. You should probably keep that quiet.
Yeah.
But it's not like you to keep things
might keep
like
you
that
from getting a
away
job
from
in the
our
future.
fans.
You know what I'm saying?
The listeners
Jokes,
should
everyone.
know.
Jokes.
Listeners should know, Patrick.
Jokes.
All previous sexual partners, you should definitely tell them.
I'll be sure to notify your mother.
Oh, zing.
Boom!
Dad?
Chris Jarvie says, I would like to know how Mylan stands on the idea that the Traveler is an agent of the darkness. Give the Hive a target to guide them around the universe and give a head start to potential worlds to prepare them for the Hive's arrival.
Mm-hmm. I think with the whole agent of the darkness, and if the Traveler's evil and that kind of thing, if the Books of Sorrow, this is a commitment thing. If the Books of Sorrow is true, I do think that the Traveler is an agent of the light, and the Hive were an agent of the darkness, and the Hive were pursuing the Traveler. I think what is more interesting is, would we have been attacked if the Traveler never arrived? And I think the answer is no. The Hive wouldn't have arrived in our system. They were following the Traveler. So, from that point of view, the Traveler brought all of these issues, but it also gave us great technology. But because the Hive were chasing them, we ended up having a collapse and everything falling to pieces. So I'm not in the. I do think that the Traveler is of the light and the Hive of the darkness, and there's probably another conversation whether you think the Traveler's evil or just building armies to try fend off the darkness, essentially. So there's no real good thought there. They just want to. The Traveler just wants to
protect
build
itself.
Yeah, exactly. It's more about it doesn't really care for helping other people. It's about protecting itself by building armies from certain worlds.
Mm-hmm.
Chris Lennon says, do you think it would be better to not have a Hive DLC for the Comet expansion, but rather a different race?
Well, I think we spoke about, I think there needs to be an injection of a different race. And I feel like we've got really good backstories for a lot of the enemy races now. There is still obviously a lot of lore to do with the Hive, but I think, what Tefty was saying before and what we were sort of saying is it needs something fresh just to get people back into it. And I'd be happy for them to come back to the Hive and Savathun and basically Oryx's sisters at another stage. Yeah. But I have a feeling that we'll obviously need to see the Taken again, and Savathun's going to come back, and Siva we haven't seen Siva come back yet. That's going to come back. I think that'll probably be DLC too as well with the War.
You know why I hate Siva and the Taken to a lesser extent is because they're just cosmetically, they're just like reskins of enemies we've already seen.
Yeah.
Right? Siva was so unsatisfying because it didn't give me any real Fallen lore, or it didn't really give me a Fallen story. It gave me a Siva Fallen story, right?
So we didn't have a Fallen raid. We had a Siva raid.
Yeah, that's how I always felt about it. There was some stuff in there about the Fallen, but it didn't feel...
Well, it was about the Iron Lords, really. The Siva was like a backseat to the Iron Lords. Like that was... It didn't have any sort of depth to it in it. So, well,
I'm
it did
so
have...
thirsty for Fallen, because the Fallen, to me, are the most interesting of the races that we fight, because they're so much like us, right? That's what I'm so interested about it. We get so little of it. Maybe it's going to happen. Like maybe they're just saving it for later. But man, I'm sick of the Taken.
Yeah, and I love the idea of the fallen that were once chosen, and then like the traveler was like, well, I'm done with you, and now we're like I want more of that.
We can still be friends though.
Yeah. We can be friends from a distance, but I'm done with you guys. And like I want to know more of that story and more of that. What happened and where it led to.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Because it's still a question of whether the traveler just bailed on the fallen or if it helped, fight and eventually got to the point where it left. And that links into exactly what happened during our collapse.
Mm-hmm. Was the traveler trying to leave? Thing? Yeah.
Exactly.
Was the traveler going to do the same thing to us that it did to the fallen, but the war mind stopped it?
Exactly. Yeah, and we would have been in the same position, and we can see a lot of that's the cool thing about the Fallen. We can see a lot of similarities between us and them, and how their whole culture was destroyed, and they've gone to this scavenger race essentially without light. And there's backstory there with the Queen and Prince Aldrin, and I do think Prince Aldrin, from what we've seen, is out there trying to make an alliance, or already has made an alliance with the Fallen. So there's definitely a lot of story around the Fallen that we could still go into.
God, I miss you talking about the Queen, did I?
New Year's Save David says, question from Island, why did it look like Mercury is being blown up on our destination screen?
Well, that was from the campaign, right, with the Almighty. Wasn't the Almighty sucking in Mercury?
It was like sucking Mercury to use his power to extinguish the sun?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was using material, right? It was pulling it.
So you can see that in game too. You can see all dead Vex amongst all the rubble when you board the. It's called the Almighty, right?
The Almighty.
Yeah, you can see it when you board the Almighty. It's got like all the Mars rubble, and it's got Vex on there as well, being sucked up from. Mercury rubble being sucked up from Mercury.
Mm-hmm.
Jeffrey Ald says, for a Guardian who hasn't done the raids in Destiny 2, which do you think is the best one to learn first? Also, have more Aussies on the show, please.
As far as ones that are easiest to learn first, I'd probably do the raid layer. I mean, it is a complicated fight, but it's just like you learn one fight. And if you learn the first part of the encounter, the second part's going to be just as easy.
Patrick, can you get the Midnight Coup from the raid layer?
Yes. Wait. No. We're gonna go no. So scratch that. Go do the actual raid.
The actual raid is very important
because the loot from the raid layer is pretty poopy. You got a grenade launcher. You got a shotgun.
That Titan armor looks ridiculous. That's why I love it.
Oh no, it's my favorite.
The armor looks really good.
I love it. I love it that it's different. I love that it makes you like just look crazy.
I feel like it's like those suits that people use to have dogs attack people. Mm-hmm. That's what I feel like. I'm running around in one of those suits. Or one of those big sumo suits, like you go to and you're like bumping in, like doing the sumo wrestling.
Dig it. I like it.
Dallin C says, what is the purpose for the Vex to be inside of the Leviathan, and do we expect other races to be inside the Leviathan?
Yeah, this is like an interesting one with how they're going to add. Because what do you guys think? How many more raid layers do you think we'll get before we get a retirement of the Leviathan?
I think one.
One more. At least one.
I would go with one. Yeah.
At least one.
Yeah. And so it's going to depend on what's in that, depending on who's in the Leviathan, essentially. I think the lore around the Leviathan is pretty cool. That Callus recruited his personal sort of assassins, being the shadows of Callus, and a lot of them had boarded the Leviathan, had been tested, had been destroyed by Callus, and consequently, anyone who did survive the Leviathan was recruited into the shadows of Callus. Lore-wise, I hope that we see something relevant to that, and that we might be offered to join Callus. And when the Leviathan is retired, that's sort of one of the final scenes is, Guardian, you've survived all my tests. I've been testing you this whole time, like a big game show, and you've proven we meet the real Callus, and we decline his invitation to join the Shadows of Callus and sort of defeat him. Other races, how other enemies board the Leviathan, I'm not too sure on the Vex and how they might be.
I assumed that they got sucked in, like they sucked in a planet and there were Vex on that planet.
Oh, sorry, yeah. The Eat of the World,
they
sucked in. No, wasn't it Nessus?
Yeah, they're
Nessus,
well. Here's the story, but here's something that I thought was super interesting about the Eater of Worlds is that this ship has been around for a while. You know, Nessus isn't the first planet it's sucking in, right? Yeah. I think it would be cool to just, you know, have one of these raid layers like introduce us to a race that's outside of our galaxy, like just something crazy. Just
that would be cool.
That would be really cool.
It's a way of introducing the DLC in a way.
It'd be like the way they introduced the Borg in Star Trek, where it was like a one-off thing, but then all of a sudden it became like a main thing for the rest of the story, right?
Yeah, you find some race in there that, then maybe flip that. We find some race in there that got sucked up by the Cabal, right? And they become allies of ours, right? And they're
allies of the Cabal.
Well, no, they're allies of become ours, and then
we blow up our allies, Pope. Yeah. I don't understand what you're doing here.
We get that's another playable character.
I see what you're saying. In Destiny,
we free them from the Leviathan. Is that what you're saying?
Right. Yeah. He's the last of their kind, destroyed by bent on revenge.
But the thing with the Vex, before with Eater of Worlds was maybe the question was more around because isn't he the Vex mind of Nessus? So it's like, how is Nessus still there if it got sucked into the Leviathan? Is that maybe that was the question? Like, how do we see the Vex mind of Nessus in the Leviathan raid if Nessus is still there?
Yeah, that was my issue with that whole thing. But at the same time, if you look on a certain place of Nessus, you can see chunks going in to the into the World Eater. So I don't know if they actually did take the core or not. Either way,
maybe they did,
all of it makes no sense whatsoever. From an astrophysical standpoint, I'm like, what? I assume that maybe it was a different world that they consumed.
Your job isn't to think. Your job is to throw Nova bombs at that big thing that's shooting at us. Leave the science to the professionals.
I guess, right? Because I feel like if they would have had one person from the scientific community come in, just do a little fact checking, a little bit of like, okay, this is clearly crazy.
Tefty. It's a game where we're always saying, I just want space magic. And you're over here trying to get...
Yeah, Tefty, take your logic out of here.
Yeah, man. We're going to be fracking the ground on Nessus and going to destroy the Cabal. In fact, the Cabal are still mining while they're eating the planet. That's efficient right there. Isn't that crazy?
Mm-hmm. That's a good point.
Wow. They really got the memo on that one.
Process to suck up the entire planet.
You know, there's bureaucracies. It's hard to stop something once you get it in motion.
I guess so, man. I guess so. Yeah.
They told me to mind the planet. I'm going to keep minding the planet. Nope. They never gave me orders to stop mining.
Well, one thing I thought though that like soothed my brain after thinking about that was that maybe it's just a different core that has similarities to Nessus.
It's not the core.
Could be a core of Mercury.
It's like Argos is a different core of a different planet and not Nessus. Because what the hell? When Xur shows up on Nessus, did he not get the memo that the planet is being consumed?
Xur don't care.
He's like,
he's willing his own.
I got some wares here. You guys want to come buy them? By the way, the planet's going to go away in like, what, a week?
It's Dragon Ball Z rules.
I feel like we got it at least till September before it's gone.
It's interesting those things when like the gameplay moves forward, but you don't really know like what timeline you're in. Like, okay, so when we're on Nessus, we're actually before like the Leviathan sucked it up, before it sucked the core up, and then when we get onto the Leviathan, okay, now this things have passed, and it's a bit like that with, you know, the Traveler's now awake. Well, why is Dead Orbit still kicking around? Why haven't we had, you know, obviously we're waiting for more things to happen, but the things that don't make sense from a story point of view, because they're obviously trying to catch up with things that happen. And Leviathan is a little bit like that. Like, you know, maybe when we're in that point in time, when we're on the Leviathan, maybe Nessus has been destroyed. I don't know.
Yeah. This is going, guys.
We'll move on. Let's do another question. Hurricane Ken says, "Hey crew, love the show." Okay, this question. Before I read this question, don't get wrapped up in the details. Just ask yourself, do you think the possibility is there for this to happen? If we get a new subclass, what new element type do you think Bungie would give us?
No.
Do you guys think we're going to get a new subclass in Destiny 2?
No.
I think we'll get it. Yes. September.
I think it'll be the same element of like Thorn.
Oh, yeah, I love it.
I think it's definitely
Damage
possible.
over time subclass.
I think it's definitely possible, and also I think it's even in the lore, right? Like the reverse of solar or something. There's like a opposite solar that's not represented in a subclass, a decay class.
There was, I mean, like if you look at like Dredge and Yor and that kind of thing, there was definitely people using other. I mean, the Awoken use different powers too, so there's possibility for using other powers. The solar arc and void are built into the like physics of the Destiny universe. Like they do have significance as being like these energies, and the light or allows us to tap into the natural energy. So there are arc storms on Mars, which the Vex access to use arc power. There is a space called the Void, which Void Walkers go into, which is the space between nothingness to draw power from. Solar is solar energy. And there's a Reddit post about like if these relate to our own world with like magnetic forces and dark matter, essentially. Void is more of a dark matter. So from a lore point of view, the subclasses are very sort of set, like these are the natural forces of the universe. So they would have to introduce other concepts to explain how we maybe access different powers.
I think
Maybe
we're much more likely to see a rework of the subclasses we have than a brand new subclass.
Like more skill cluster thingies.
More to each subclass, and hopefully more customization within each subclass.
Necromancer class.
I think we need it. I think we need like a necromancer, dark guardian.
Yes, I agree.
I think you have the right idea though, Briar. Like another, not necessarily a new subclass, but a new character like a Fallen that we get to play. Or somebody that has some power that's drawn from somewhere else.
Yes, so that's the way they could get around the whole solar void and arc being like the main elements is do like a dark one, draw power from the darkness, and then you've got or corruption or something like that. That's not using the light with our sort of fundamental.
If you're a member of the darkness, can you grow a beard?
Maybe the light's been stopping all the beards.
Man, no, Osiris has got a beard. I feel like Akara is like shaving every day too. Like
she's tight, man. She's got the razor out every morning.
Thing? Maybe you have to be a warlock to get it.
But
I want a bearded guardian.
Honestly, this makes me think like having a whole set of dark subclasses, like Dark Solar, Dark Void, Dark Arc, would be sick. Wouldn't that be awesome?
Yes.
Yeah. Yes.
Yes.
I would love that.
Yeah, just add like dark versions of the current things we have.
Like
super
the
cool.
Taken version of the regular things.
Yeah, I want to be able to blink around like that captain. It sounds great.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, right.
Check dark balls at people. Yeah.
Tim Murray says, I've been trying to find all scannables, and there seem to be 4 main threads being hinted at. The return of Osiris, the issues with the Warmind, the unification of the Fallen, and the coming of Savathun. On the topic of the Fallen, do you think Uldren is now the Kell of Kells? I just love this question because it's so long and then just right turns right at the end.
It's just this is all the background research that I've done, which leads me to the conclusion. Fallen, Prince Uldren. I think I completely agree. If you guys haven't seen the scannables and the Age of Triumph in D1 when they released the Grim, they released. I think there were like 10 Grimoire cards they released in Age of Triumph. Uh-huh. And all of them pretty much hinted to things happening in Destiny 2 that were about to come about. And one of the things that hasn't happened yet is Prince Uldren basically searching for the House of Kings Kell. And in that card, essentially Prince Aldrin fakes being weakened and destroyed, and because he couldn't find the Kell, he basically faked that. He intentionally lost a battle with a fallen troop, and they carried his limp body to their hideout, and that's how he found the Kell. And the card ends very elusively with something like, "When one Kell rises, another bends a knee," and the implication is that basically Prince Aldrin's tricked his way into the House of Kings hideout, and he's like, guess what, now I'm the leader, and he's risen to that status, and that was Age of Triumph. And then all the scannables basically in on Titan are essentially, oh, this fallen transmission is using awoken technology, that's weird. And then there's a bunch of other hints that are just like direct references to sort of Aldrin being in control, and there's being some sort of alliance there.
Man, wouldn't that be cool if the September DLC, he shows up and he's like, hey guys, you kind of took over.
These are my friends.
Yeah.
That'd be awesome.
People that started with D2 won't know who he is.
Too bad. Get over it.
They won't be able to understand it.
Well, I mean, that's the issue with the scannables. You don't understand them. There's like 5 or 6 of them that talk about, awoken, transmissions and there's implications of fallen and awoken working together. And you're like, well, okay.
My issue with there being 2 different types of audio for the entire game. You have people like, oh, this account has played Destiny before. We'll give it the, they know what they're doing audio. And this account hasn't, so we're gonna not explain anything. Weird. It's weird. Sometimes they may explain. Sometimes they just go. They just don't even bother with any of it. Yeah.
Logistics of me finding lore really slowed me down in Destiny 2 to collect the scannables and to know that, because even some scannables change depending if you're awoken or exo. And not having a database and not having them recorded anywhere.
Oh, no.
Makes it extremely inaccessible to piece any puzzles together. So I had to go through and capture every scannable, transcribe every scannable, and then see if they even relate to each other.
Oh, wow. Jesus.
Wow.
You listen to Bungie. This is the type of dedication people
the
have.
Lord's work over there in Australia. Ace Dog says, elephant in the room time. I heard Black Link's favorite memories of Planet Destiny. What are yours? Also, can we have Drunk Briar back? This normal one isn't as fun.
Damn, Briar. What does that say?
I
like you drunk more than sober.
Maybe that's your true self, though, Briar. When you're drunk, so they like your true self.
My wife just says I just get louder.
I've been around you when you're drunk, and that is true. You definitely do get louder.
What do you guys think? So, Planet Destiny put up a couple of tweets this week. They're shutting down the podcast. They're temporarily shutting down the YouTube channel.
It from what I read, it was like an indefinite, shutdown.
Hiatus.
Yeah. Of the YouTube. As far as like, memories for me, just kind of realizing that, this thing that I was just doing as kind of a hobby is an actual job for me now. Like, I'm working for a company and they're actually paying me. This is cool. And, kind of that moment of, I can actually do this as, I can do this for a living.
I was mixed feelings about when I heard about that. Initially, my first thought was, how can I get back all that like time that we spent on it, right? If they were leaving, is it for sale? I want to buy it.
Like the old podcasts.
Yeah, well, just all of it, man. It's like it feels weird. It feels weird. Like we left Planet Destiny, and I feel like we left a lot of like blood, sweat, and tears behind.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I look at the work you guys worked your asses off to build that thing. And I just feel like out of just, and I did a fraction of what you guys did to build up Planet Destiny. And I just feel that I felt like that desire to, I just want to buy the stuff that you guys made back, and just to have it because you guys.
I left it all behind.
I know, but but I'm just talking about my initial feelings. Is that I wanted to own that back for you guys. That just to say like, no, this is our legacy, like you said, Tufty, and but yeah, it's sad for me a little bit because I know how much of that community you guys help to forge, and that as a creator, as a content creator, that means a lot, right? That kind of loyalty of our fans now, there's a ton of people, they're like, I've been listening to you guys since Planet Destiny. I've been listening to you, Pope, since Dad's of Destiny. I mean, that kind of forging of a community is hard work, and it's so worth it. These people are more than just like random numbers that are like watching your videos, right?
Oh yeah.
And as a content creator, it just, I don't want to get choked up, but it's like this is how you connect to your people, right? And this is you make this stuff. You don't make it. I don't know a single content creator that started because they wanted to make money off of it like that. Like this was a passion, right? And I don't know. I feel like that's like so much legacy lost for us.
I don't obviously have that link to Planet Destiny, but I definitely sort of feel the same way. Like I spent 3 years building, Myling Games and building that channel, and it sucks when it's taken out of your hands and you have that community fall away because of then the game has not reached expectations, and it's like you still have all those feelings about what you've built, what you've built with the community and your interactions with them, and then the logistics of it smack you straight in the face, which is like, well, at the end of the day, I still have to pay bills. I still have to, justify my time spending every weekend, every waking hour working on something. And it sucks that my hand is forced to close down something or to stop doing something because of reality.
Yeah.
Yeah. Pope, when you say like things like, it's your legacy, the legacy was never Planet Destiny for me. That was, it was a job that I enjoyed doing, and, it definitely got to launch things, but the legacy, I guess, it built into something larger than Planet Destiny ever could possibly be, with people, it's the people, the audience that you grow. That's why I do this. I could give a damn about, the platform that I'm on for the most part. There's people that are, hanging out that you never realize the importance that any of this matters until, you actually talk to people and, they just go, hey, you helped me through a huge part of my life, or, you got me to enjoy something that I didn't. You got me to connect with, my son, and like, that's my fucking that's a legacy that I'm proud of.
That's true.
Definitely.
I could give a damn about, PD and the logo that's attached to it. All the other stuff that it allowed me to do. That's what I'm proud of.
It's very well said.
Absolutely.
That's very well said.
I'd say a memory for me.
I don't think. Go on,
I was going to say a memory for me was when I did my first video, which I think was the Don't Touch Me Gauntlets. I think that was the first one that went up for my first review.
Started with a winner, huh?
Yeah, exactly. I'm pretty sure. I think that was the first one.
That was a good one.
Yeah.
The Don't Touch Me's.
So that went up. And
I remember getting you to actually do reviews was like pulling fucking teeth.
Oh, I was very. I wasn't sure if I wanted to be a content creator. Honestly,
Yeah.
I was very reluctant. And that video went up. I saw the response, and it was wild. It was a wild experience to go from not really thinking about wanting to be a content creator, even though I had like started on that path somewhat with my own channel, and then like having that video go up. It kind of like started shifting my perspective on things. So that was like something that definitely stands out for me. I think, I think for me, it's sad to see that happen to PD because I look at it as roots, and I'm somebody who never wants to forget roots. And PD is very much roots for me in terms of being a content creator, because started with YouTube, and then obviously the Twitch side started taking over. And it's sad, but at the same time, I knew that us as a group had to, at some point, expand. And I knew me as a Twitch streamer, I knew I had to expand because I've said this before, around the Taken King launch, like about a month or two after that, I realized that if I was going to continue to be a content creator, I knew I was going to have to expand beyond exclusively Destiny, that it wasn't going to be something that I could only just focus on Destiny, both because of the way my attention span is on games. Even though I can grind games for very long, I also have that experience where, if another game comes out that entices me, I'm going to want to play it. It's just how it is. And so I knew I had to follow down that path with my own Twitch channel. But yeah, it's it's always sad to see something like that because I consider it roots. So
yeah, definitely.
The coolest thing about PD was like getting in there and being a smaller content creator and seeing like a bunch of smaller content creators all kind of come together and start working together to make something, and then that became. It started with videos, then came the podcast, then came the Twitch channel. And like every time we kind of moved on collectively to the next project, frankly, we banged it out of the park. I feel like every time we moved on to the next project, that it was really fun, doing that as a team and as a group. You know what I mean? Well, what's saddest to me is that I was kind of hoping to watch the next generation kind of do the same thing. And unfortunately, Destiny 2 just didn't allow that to happen.
Yeah.
That's a very good point.
It's not a slight on the people that were working at Planet Destiny, Story Machine, Blacklink, Fallout Plays. They had a standout cast of people that are
definitely
that was the next generation.
Really good content, but they got left with the very shitty situation of one. As much as people started to watch Planet Destiny more for the personalities that were attached to it than just the information. So then when we left, the people that were watching it just with personalities were like, well, what the hell, who are these other new people, which is a big shock. But then at the same time, there was a really shitty situation of just Rise of Iron not having as much content, and then D2 really not having the type of content that promoted a channel that exclusively focuses on one thing. So there's it just didn't work out the way that we were kind of hoping it would for the channel after we left.
I'd say for me, the thing with Planet Destiny, obviously I wasn't there as a content creator. I came onto the podcast, but that was the thing that made me go from a solo content creator working on my own stuff, doing my own thing, to becoming a part of a group and having that crew and my part of the world of people that I really like and that I get along with. And that was the
Is she talking about us, Briar?
Yes. Oh. Yes, Pope. Yes. And that was the catalyst to me having this group where it was now, Sea of Thieves, for example, it comes out. I'm like, I want to play with those guys. We have now a group where stuff comes out and we can jump into that and really enjoy it together. And that's because of the Planet Destiny podcast.
And and specifically you guys, I mean, I really as a fan, I like to watch you guys play. I miss being able to I work during the day at my job, right? So I can't join you on those Let's Plays, but I genuinely enjoy watching you guys interact and play. And I watch it and I'm like, I remember, jumping in and watching and and talking to you guys on Discord when I got home from work, because that was the first thing I wanted to do, is to saw you guys were playing. And then to later find out that Briar was down there in the hole, sabotaging the ship. I mean, that kind of shenanigans, you can't write that stuff. But
I don't know what the fuck you're talking about.
Well, one thing I'm talking about is those things happening more often.
Yeah, so we gotta do that more often.
Yeah, we are.
Wish I could slap you guys with the bananas that we have. That would be great.
Chuck a banana.
That would be good.
That'd be great.
Yeah, throw a banana at you, knock you overboard.
I gotta say, that game is so full of potential. It is just the stuff you can do in that game to and with your friends. It's just mind blowing. It's such an open sandbox. It really is. It's an amazing thing.
There's some negative reviews coming out right now on it.
Yeah. I feel like there's gonna be people who really kind of thrive in that kind of. It's the kind of people who get a big bag of Legos are gonna really love that big bag of Legos, are gonna love that game. The people who want to build the Millennium Falcon, with the instructions, they're not gonna love that game as much. You know what I mean?
Okay. Yeah.
this game, Sea of Thieves, if you're not the kind of person that can just like make your own fun, like if you really want like a storyline and like a structured experience, it's not probably going to be your game. I think everybody should check it out. At least it's got a 14-day trial. Like, it's worth checking out. I mean, the game's visually stunning.
Yeah. Oh, it's beautiful. Yeah.
I've been saying to people that it's an experience game. If you want to experience becoming a pirate in some like digital world where you actually have to sail and you go get the maps to sail to an island, so on and so forth, and you might run into somebody, you may or may not have a PvP combat, then it's a very unique experience that I don't think you can get from any games right now in that setup right now. If you want a loot progression system that has vast PvE, then you're going to be sorely disappointed.
No, that's not.
Yeah.
It.
No.
Yeah, all the loot is purely cosmetic, too, by the way.
It's purely cosmetic. They do need to add more ship customization options because now there's just one page. So I really hope they add more because your ship is like your thing. I'm a pirate. My ship is my thing. So I want to be able to do crazy stuff.
Yeah.
Crazy.
Yeah, it'd be so cool if you could go and find like a pirate hat in a mountain.
Yeah.
Pop a chest and be
exactly.
like, "Where'd you get that hat?" I got it on an island.
I got it at the Isle of Last Words.
Yeah.
Quest specific loot.
Oh yeah. You know,
Oh my God,
a lot of stuff is actually applicable. Taking down the skellies.
Oh my god, that'd be great.
So am I buying it? Is it worth me buying it?
It's worth trying it for free.
Yeah.
Can you play for free?
Yeah, 14 days. If you sign up for
Xbox
Game Pass. Xbox Game Pass.
I don't have an Xbox.
You have a PC.
Doesn't matter. You
It
can do it on
doesn't
PC.
Okay.
It's also only
Yeah, you get a 14-day trial, and then Game Pass also has, for $10 a month, you get access to like this enormous back catalog of games, and there's a bunch of new games that they're going to be day and date new releases that you're going to be able to play. So if you want to play Sea of Thieves this month, but you're not so sure about next month, you can pay $10 for this month, cut it off next month, and then when what's that new zombie one coming out?
State of Decay.
Day of
Decay 2, which is going to be amazing. The first one was
that's going to be on Game Pass as well, so you'll be able to play that.
It's going to be good.
I think like the best thing to do, honestly, if you're on the fence, is actually check out the Game Pass, because you could spend $10, play Sea of Thieves for literally a whole month, and then be like, I'm done with the game, and then you only spend $10. You didn't spend $60.
Perfect.
Yeah, it's perfect.
And so let me the Game Pass allows on all those games they'll allow you to play on a PC.
If they have come out for PC as well.
Some of them.
Yeah.
Some of them. Okay, because it doesn't. I don't.
Most of the new games are coming on PC as well.
If you tell me that they're only on Xbox, that means I got to find something else to hold the door open.
Right. I know it's tough.
And right now, my Xbox is using that. So
to me, the game is not $60.
Yeah.
It does not feel like a $60 game.
Yeah.
The only reason I feel like I can get my money's worth out of it is because I have a great group of friends to play it with.
Yeah.
And
is he talking about Esper?
I'm not sure.
Sometimes for you guys. Sometimes I tolerate you.
I don't know, man. Like, I think it's this game is gonna be different things to different people, and I can't tell you I'm gonna be playing it in a month or a year, but I can tell you I'm having a ball with it today.
Yeah.
Today I got into a fight I was playing all by myself. I found a ship that was parked. There were 2 pirates on the island. I sunk the ship. I killed the 2 pirates. They had 7 chests on their boat. I took those chests. They came at me from the nearest outpost on a brand new boat. They were chasing me around. It was epic. It was fun.
Did you win and steal the chests?
I stole the chests. I got all the chests.
Really? You were able to turn them in?
Yeah, 7 chests.
That's amazing.
Oh my god! It was like an hour of just like chaos.
That's great.
And fun.
I gotta say, sailing solo was a lot of fun. A lot of people are like, I think the game's bad solo.
It's a different experience.
Yeah.
But it's still, I found it fun as well.
Yeah.
After going from like a crew to solo, I actually found I was getting bored in the crew because there's less things to manage. Whereas when you're solo, you're navigating, you're managing the sails, you're managing the cannons, you're looking for stuff, and it also has a lot more risk involved because people see a tiny boat going past us. Let's troll and let's grab all the treasure chests. So I actually found solo is good too, but I think you do need. I think having the experience with friends is also a different experience from solo because those moments that are quiet are moments where you're goofing off and firing each other out of cannons and you know, just doing whatever you do to make it fun for you. So I think there's a couple different experiences there.
Yeah.
I have a question for you guys. Is anybody successfully launched a ship-to-ship boarding via cannon?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like it's possible to aim yourself.
It is very much possible.
Now, do you take fall damage?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah,
So-
but not when you shoot yourself
from
out with a
cannons.
cannon.
No cannon.
Cannons.
Right. So you could
Oddly.
potentially
Yeah.
load yourself up into cannons and then board a ship by firing
Yes.
yourself at it.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, I think
I want
fall
that.
damage is calculated by drop in height or in the y-axis. So when it goes really fast,
okay.
I don't think it calculates speed damage, which is
So you
great.
could slam into the side of a ship
Yeah.
and just be like,
yeah, it's
"Meh."
fine. Yeah.
Yeah, it's actually a good way to go onto an island instead of like jumping off
Yeah.
a boat and swimming to an island. You just fire yourself at the tallest peak on the mountain.
Yeah.
Splat. Okay, what are we doing here?
That's great. Yeah, I gotta get it then. I'm gonna play with you guys. It'll be fun.
Comply RL says everyone give me one reason I should and one reason I should not buy a PS4 specifically to play Destiny 2 with Pope Bear. Comply or else. Who's that, Pope?
What is the question?
Everyone give me one reason I should and one reason I should not buy a PS4 specifically to play Destiny 2 with Pope Bear.
He sucks.
I
Pope
feel
Bear's
like
pretty
playing,
Hollywood, so you play with pretty famous people. You know, Pope's
I
pretty
feel like
Hollywood.
playing Pope Bear with Destiny is both a reason and a reason not to buy a PS4.
Here you go. I got it right here. You want to buy a PS4 to play with Pope because he's got so many hours in the game. He's got he's got all the loot, he's got the knowledge and so on and so forth. But the problem is you don't want to play with him because he's also a casual. So
Yeah. Also, like honestly, if you want to be sold on it, you can buy a PS4 to play PvP to hopefully kill Pope. That's a much better reason.
There you go. There you go.
And it's not that hard.
It really isn't.
It really isn't. I get screenshots of people. Hey, I just played you, Pope, and I'm like, that's KD.
Brian, did you see the podcast question in the Skype chat?
No.
Okay, just check. Be sure to check on it.
All right. This is I'd say buy a PlayStation 4 and send me a message and let's do some stuff. Let's play.
Let's get weird.
All right.
Yeah.
Next
Let's get
question.
weird.
Andrew Slagan says, just thinking of how the penalty is going to work. Would people still back out to keep their KD up? Thinking Bungie could make their KD go down as well as somehow if they back out. Really don't need to answer was the only thing I was thinking about. Good stream, by the way.
KD farming is such an insignificant part of the game, in my opinion. It has no actual effect on any sort of gameplay.
Yeah,
So
but millions of people do it.
Millions of people do it, but like it has no. If people are backing out of the game, great.
Well,
there
thousands.
there's a couple people.
Millions
Tens of thousands.
Hundreds.
Destiny 2.
Hundreds do it.
Tens.
Tens of
Tens.
people.
Tens of tens.
Tens.
Tens of tens.
It's one of the things. I feel like this is the type of thing that will curb it a little bit, but I mean, there's people that play Street Fighter that leave Street Fighter matches before the match can actually end because they don't want their KD to, or not KD, but like match win ratio to suffer at all. Like there, it exists in every single
playing
game.
one game every like hour.
Yeah.
Yes.
Whatever.
Eventually, if you're getting at a level where it looks like your KD is approaching 1.0, means you're at the correct level.
Random West says, when you make pancakes, do you put butter on every pancake or just butter on the top of the stack?
Do you want them
No
delicious?
butter.
Wait, what? No butter?
Yeah, no
What?
butter. No butter.
Blasphemy.
What?
Do you want your
All you
pancakes
need is the-
delicious
No.
or bearable? If you want them delicious, you put butter on every stack.
I agree with you.
Mhm.
Or at least it'll swab of the butter. Swab.
Yeah, you don't
Place it on top.
You don't need like a stick of butter in between each one. You just, little pad.
little
It's like a
swab.
butter sandwich with pancake bread.
I'm going to excuse myself from this question because I hate pancakes.
I knew there's a reason.
Jesus.
When you get so much hate in the comments.
There's a reason not to
I
play with them.
knew when you were talking about oryx. When you were talking about oryx with the gleam in your eye and how like wonderful, I knew there was a reason.
Can't stand this stuff. It's just give me a waffle any day. But give me a pancake and I'll throw it out the window.
Want to have a pancake one day and a waffle next day?
Waffles. I like the little cups.
It doesn't have to be a competition. Both are delicious.
I like waffles. You put a blueberry and some. They have these little perfect little cups that carry the. If you put your syrup on a pancake, it rolls off of it. I want my syrup to stay there.
But then you get to
the waffle is a superior design.
The waffle is a pretty good design.
It's a good mechanism. How much syrup are you putting on your pancake?
I'm putting enough. Why?
Are you soaking it?
He wants syrup soup with.
No, I want every bite to contain.
I mean, if you're putting so much that it like completely rolls off because of how much syrup is on there.
Syrup ratio is inconsistent.
And put syrup in a bowl and then put the pancake in the bowl. There you go.
No,
it's like that style of ramen. You dip the ramen noodles in the soup and then you eat it instead of like having the noodles in the soup.
I like to have blueberries on my waffles and I put one blueberry.
Make blueberry pancakes. Seems like
with a little bit of waffle or with a little bit of syrup, and then I have the same proportional bite every time.
Pope, how about you just cut a hole in the center of the pancake, and then the syrup that you put on the pancake will just like kind of spread out from there?
No.
The only problem with that, Pat,
gravy.
When I was in the US at Guardian Con, I had some pancakes, and I didn't have any. She didn't give me a knife and fork, so I asked for some cutlery, but she would just blank. So I was like, cutlery. And then someone next to me was like, he wants silverware. Give the man a knife and fork. I was like,
were you at a Waffle House by chance?
Yeah, I think so. I think it was.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
I don't know where it was. I don't know. And I was like, don't you call it cutlery? Oh, is it just the accent?
You gotta understand you're talking in a foreign language to people who don't necessarily know it.
Also, it's the deep south.
It's a multi-syllable word, sir, and you need to refrain from that. Give me a knife, a fork, a spoon.
Typically, you say silverware or a fork and knife. You got a fork and knife.
Yeah, please have a spork, ma'am.
Yes.
You call that a knife? Give me a knife.
Cutlery is very fancy. Like if you're getting married and you need to go pick out some cutlery, like those type of words end up coming out. But if you're at a cafe, typically it's going to be like, fork and knife.
Yeah, okay.
Cutlery, you'd think they'd still know the cutlery means I want a knife.
Totally. No, yeah. There's definitely a disconnect. No doubt about it.
But it was a very awkward moment with me sitting with pancakes and no knife and fork. And then the US friends was like, just give the man a knife.
Now, let me ask you something, though, Briar. We are making a distinction in this between crepes and pancakes, correct?
Crepes are absolutely different.
Crepes just really thin pancakes?
No, they're not.
Oh my God,
they're not.
No.
It's the omelet of pancakes, really.
I'm going to go crepes, then waffles, right? Then a bunch of other things, and then pancakes at the bottom, like whatever.
Look, you're just a
pancake hating
cat.
Yeah, man. Pancake hating. Unbelievable.
Or if you made me potato pancakes, I would change my mind. Potato pancakes.
That's a whole different thing.
That's a whole other thing.
Similar in name alone.
That's it.
The original question was about butter, though, on the pancakes. And I don't put butter. I just use superior Canadian maple syrup. No need for butter.
Yeah, you're missing out.
Maple syrup in beards, man, it's a hazardous
Jesus.
thing. I love some maple syrup, but good Lord, if you make a mistake, one mistake, you pay.
And if you have some like eggs over easy, also like you're on high alert. High alert
in a beard.
The best part about
it is though,
it's like between lunch and dinner, and you're starting to get hungry a little bit, and you're like,
you lick the corner of your mouth,
and all of a sudden you find this jewel of deliciousness in your beard.
It's not really. It is kind of a jewel because it's hardened, and like you have
at that
to
point
basically.
It's like amber. And you're like,
I'm definitely not going for seconds in my beard.
There might be a mosquito in there. You can make dinosaurs from it.
You don't go for seconds in your beard.
God, no. You think I'm a heathen?
Well, you do enough stroking that I don't think you would find anything in there. You're right.
This is true. Yeah.
You're always grooming. Mm-hmm.
My cat often chews on my beard. There's no way I'm putting that thing in my mouth.
She grooms your beard?
No, she chews on it. There's a difference between grooming and chewing.
I just imagined you standing up and there being a cat still attached to you.
Right?
Just swinging.
Jaw locked.
Like a honey badger, which won't let go. Franco Stucci says, "Hey DCP, I watched you guys play and gal play Sea of Thieves. It came up that Watts is afraid of being underwater and drowning.
Mm-hmm.
My question is, what fears do the rest of you have? I personally share Watts' fear of drowning, even though I love swimming.
It's only in
I miss
video
that,
games.
Watts. It's only in video games? It's not in real life?
No, it's only video games. I'm a very good swimmer, but video game water is terrifying. Especially in Sea of Thieves when it's all stormy and it's gray and I can't see what's in there. You know, I'm swimming along, having a good time. Next thing you know, there's a shark. There's a shark biting me and it hurts.
Damn sharks.
I did sense a lot of apprehension when we were doing the shipwrecks.
Yes. Also in Sea of Thieves when you're swimming underwater in the ships, it's very
disorienting.
It's things are not up and down or left and right. They are, who knows? Take a guess.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, video game water
also
is terrifying because most of the time in most games, in Sea of Thieves, it's actually a little bit better. But in most games, you are usually not able to fight back when you're underwater. You go into water, you're like, for some reason, I don't know how to use all my weapons. Nothing works. So if you get attacked, you're just gonna die, and that's scary. And drowning in video games is also scary because they have scary music, and the it stresses me out. It panics me.
Do you watch movies where people drown? Like
that's fine. It's just video games.
I have
no, I don't watch that movie.
What, Grinding Nemo?
Grinding
Nemo. I don't even want to know. I have a fear of clowns.
Really?
I do not like clowns. I cannot stand clowns. I don't find them funny. I don't think that they're. I don't think that the comedy they perform is entertaining. They scare the shit out of me, and I want them away from me and my kids.
Out of the little VW bug.
I hate
for
them.
every person that shows up to Guardian Con. For every person that shows up to Guardian Con dressed as a clown and meets Poke Bear, I will give you $10.
When I was in high school, I read
It.
Stephen King's It when I was in high school, and it soured me to clowns.
In high school. Usually, I always thought those fears happen earlier than that.
I had no problem with clowns when I was younger, but I read at a very impressionable time. I was probably like a freshman, sophomore in high school. I read It, and the book
lights off
is
right there.
Absolutely terrifying, and I have like nightmares. I get really bad night terrors, and for years I had the same jacked up, fucked up like nightmare about that clown Pennywise, and I can't. I see a clown now and I just want to punch him in the face. I want to say like, stay away from my kid. Don't you? They try to hand your kid a balloon. I'm like, get, Yeah.
Hey Pope, did you see that new It movie? We should go see that.
I refuse to see it.
I refuse to see it,
man. I think we should do is get the house in House for Guardian Con and
and watch it together.
Yeah.
I have that going all the time.
Throw a little clown party.
Yeah.
You should not have told me this because I'm really gonna fuck with you now.
Well, I'm not supposed to tell what I'm actually thinking. Like I really hate clowns.
No, you should lie.
There it is.
I should lie. Oh boy.
I think clowns are amazing.
All right.
Let's have
I have
We'll set up a spooky clown house.
Yeah, I like the clown house idea. I'm digging that. I have an irrational fear of
stay at a circus
I have an irrational fear of spiders. Like I can squash a spider, so on and so forth. But like, if I close my mind or I close my eyes and start thinking about spiders, I will get the creeps. I'll get creeped out and I'll start like feeling things.
That's not irrational. That's completely irrational. Spiders are terrifying.
Yeah, and that's how I feel.
It's all like.
I have tarantulas that crawl on me. I have like as pets.
Yeah, you see that stuff would freak me out.
That's called survival instinct, Hefty. You're good, man.
You should come to Australia. You'll do well.
That's what I'm saying. Like those giant ass spiders that freak me out. If I saw a huge tarantula, even though I know it's docile or something like that, I'm gonna have a tough time with it in my presence. And I've dealt with bugs before. But for some reason, if I think about a spider, it freaks me out.
Hefty's fears, spiders, Pope, clowns.
Good job figuring out video game water, Pat.
I got it. Oh, I got it.
All right. Well, that's crazy though, Tefty. Like I growing up, I grew up on a ranch, and we had spiders everywhere. And my pets growing up, like I had tarantulas, and those things, they creep most people out. I realized that maybe because I was younger, I used to play with them all the time. But I think spiders look cool.
You know who my favorite guy is? The guy who's got like a pet snake or a pet tarantula or something and wants to throw it at you and be like, "Here, it's friendly. Go fuck yourself. That's a deadly fucking thing. You need to get it out of my house before I hurt you and it."
There was a kid in elementary school who had that, and he did that. He was like, "Oh," to show the spider in your face. He brought it to daycare one day for some reason, and he decided to walk across the field while we were playing dodgeball. Just walk across while we were playing dodgeball. Fucking ball hit the spider out of his hand. Smushed it against the wall.
Oh man, that's too bad.
That's he warms my heart.
He was distraught, and even sad. I realized you're an idiot. And at that age,
that's an irresponsible parent.
Yeah.
Yes.
Who lets their kid bring a tarantula?
Bring your ugly ass tarantula. Let's go.
About the kid. The kid's an irresponsible parent.
They're both stupid.
The guy who threw that dodgeball got picked first every game.
I want to say that was one of the counselors, but I wasn't looking.
Hey, Mylan, what is a guy that lives on an island of death and everything?
Mega spider.
The island that killed Steve Irwin.
What are you afraid of over there? I don't know. Kangaroos or
drop bears? Drop bears, obviously.
Yeah, drop bears will get you. I think it's overemphasized how dangerous Australia is.
Nah.
I don't know, man.
Everything's really big though.
The deadliest of everything lives in Australia. Deadliest snake.
Yeah, there's things that probably you wouldn't want to be bitten by.
There's no cure for, right? There's certain things that are your toes.
Anywhere, though. You can say that you want to be bitten about things anywhere.
Yeah, exactly.
Not just.
You guys have
those
ants there.
Things are deer ticks and mosquitoes.
I mean,
and the homeless guy on the corner.
You guys have ants that take over people's houses and stuff, right?
They do reconstruction. Remodeling ants.
Bob, he's my new roommate.
I mean, probably the most common fear is sharks. I mean, we have amazing beaches here, and but it's no more likely than you're more likely to be injured in your car going to work, or you're more likely to
because there's a fucking black snake in it.
Yeah,
because there's a tarantula that happens to be extremely poisonous that's thinking about sinking the teeth directly in your neck.
Tarantula.
So I'll just be sure I'll never invite any of you to Australia because there's probably be a decline. No thanks. Thanks, but no thanks.
What are you trying to kill me, you son of a bitch?
Do you want to go for a swim? Thanks, but no thanks. Do you want to go for a bushwalk?
I'd be happy to go there. I'd be happy to go to Australia. There are tons of things that I have not eaten that only live in Australia and are super difficult to import. So
kangaroo?
I'd be down.
Like what? Kangaroo?
Kangaroo.
Turtle. Kangaroo delicious?
Turtle?
I have no idea.
Sea turtles? I heard they're delicious.
Those are endangered.
Very lean.
I bet. I imagine it's more like elk and stuff. Very.
It's probably very tough.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's got a gamey. I don't know if that's the right word. Like a gamey taste. Does that make sense? I don't know. It's very lean. You don't want to overcook it, otherwise it's super chewy. Super chewy.
I'm afraid of heights. I didn't develop it until I was in high school. I was, when I was a kid, I would jump off of stuff, no problem. No fear at all. Walk along the edge of a cliff, no fear at all. And then one day I'm in high school, I'm walking along the bleachers, I'm like, whoa, and my knees got weak. I'm like, what the fuck was that? That's new. And it got progressively worse to the fact that now I'm going up a ladder. I'm like,
wow,
yeah,
crazy.
Yeah, in VR, man. I don't know if you guys have done Google Earth in VR, but you can basically you're Superman in Google VR. You can fly anywhere on the Earth and stand on the top of buildings and shit. So I went and I stood on top of a really tall building in VR, and I had to put my hand on the ground. I had to kneel down on the ground. It was fake. I was afraid of fake heights.
It's amazing.
So that was weird.
VR can make you sweat. Like proper physical reaction to not. things not being there.
Yeah, like if there was a VR full of spiders, like Harry Potter level spiders, where Aragog and his family, that would freak me out.
It should.
I did do VR.
That's a good reaction.
I did VR underwater with it was a whale. I don't even think it was a shark. But I was like and you just stand there on a ship and you can look around. It was terrifying. Being underwater and like just giant thing just swims next to you. Oh man. Scary.
Yeah.
Real scary.
With PlayStation VR, there's like a shark demo where you go down in like one of those shark tanks and a shark like comes and starts attacking.
Yeah, I've been in that.
It's freaky, man. Yeah. It's freaky.
It's scary, yeah.
Did that give you fear of heights? Because you looked down and you saw no?
The ocean floor.
You just knew that you were submerged in liquid?
No, the shark trying to eat me. That was
that trumped it. Okay. Yeah, I did that. I had no problem with that.
Briar, have you ever done any rock climbing then?
I did when I was a kid.
Yeah, I mean, for me, that's the reason why I do rock climbing, because there's a fear that is associated to being up on heights and stuff, and that channels adrenaline, and that adrenaline gets it gets addicting. But I the higher I am, the more like when you're up 300 feet and you're climbing and you've got your rope and you're working with your partner, and the only thing that I'm focused on is that rock. And for someone like me who has ADD, it's the calmest my mind ever is. So I often go to these places where I can get heightened adrenaline so that I can quiet my mind. It's kind of interesting to talk to people that don't have that perspective on adrenaline.
It's a physical reaction. When I was a kid too, is like I remember biking. I was a big mountain biker. I'd be like on the side of a cliff mountain biking. Like it was literally like my tires were a foot away from 100-foot drop, and no problem with it. And then I don't know, just like all of a sudden, I remember the moment it started happening, and then it just got progressively worse. It's like a physical reaction too. It's weird. It's weird.
That's crazy.
I don't know.
Did you write that down, Patrick?
Yep. I need to find a house that is very high up. That has
full
lots
spiders.
of free space for me to put clown stuff. With whatever the fuck Tattoo was afraid of again, I'll figure it out. Spiders, yeah, lots of spiders everywhere.
It's Florida. I mean, I feel
and somehow incorporate video game water into it. Got it.
Minecraft.
Ultron, son of Oryx says, who do you guys think is going to die in the Avengers movie? Avengers Infinity War.
Oh, Captain America.
I hope so. I can't stand that guy.
Shit, dude.
I don't even think that actor likes being in those movies.
He actually didn't want to be in it. Originally.
Look at that. See? Like he doesn't look interested.
Mr. Patriotic.
He's just such a one-dimensional character, though. He's so boring to watch. Like I have no interest in him.
Yeah.
Your fear is vegetables, by the way, Pat. I know what it is.
What?
Your fear is vegetables.
What's your fear, Pat?
Salad or something.
I was hoping I wouldn't have to start actually telling my fears. No, I'm not afraid of vegetables at all.
Yeah.
I got a bunch of spinach in my fridge right now. I put it on my burgers. It's great.
I know what Patrick's afraid of.
Okay, what?
Good food.
I was just about to say that.
Not having a Taco Bell within a 1 mile radius.
No.
It's not a fear. It's a life requirement.
Fear of grocery stores.
I think Patrick's fear is actually of a certain type of personality or people, or just people in general, really.
It's kind of like general just like social anxiety type fear. I fucking hate crowds. I despise large groups of people in crowds. Which also I hate driving because I have just a general distrust of everyone. So yeah, I know how bad of a driver I am. And then think about all the people around me. They're probably on their cell. Like I am attentive when driving. I am focusing on driving. There's people on their cell phones, all this other shit. No, so driving is another one of my fears, but it's mostly just related to people. Yeah. So we're gonna have a party house at Guardian.
Lots
Con.
of people.
Just tons
Lots
of people
of
there all the
clown
time.
spiders.
Dress as clowns.
Mhm.
Clown spiders.
Everyone has to bring a spider.
You have
for
these
entry.
really cool LED lights that make the ceiling look like water. It's awesome.
Yeah.
It's gonna be like a lot of ambient sounds of.
Yeah. Just play the
Ambient
sonic
choking?
drowning sound over and
Yeah,
over
drowning?
again.
It'll be like
Just
really
nonstop.
peaceful music, like Minecraft, and
Yeah,
all of a sudden it'll be
peaceful,
like.
yeah.
All right, I got 2 more questions, and we're out of here.
All right.
Real Good Murph says, "Why is Briar the most trustworthy of all pirates?"
Have you seen what he did to us?
He is not.
I don't understand what you're saying. I'm personally insulted, Watts.
Watching you guys do the
You blew me off the ship. I could have died.
Watts,
I was stuck in the water, video game water,
Shooting you.
with sharks.
You know that, right? Like every time you were on land or whatever, I was watching the
I
Briars.
saw. Yeah, he shot
shooting at you,
cannonballs at us.
and
Yeah,
he's a scallywag, is what he is.
he is a scallywag.
Mm-hmm.
I do not.
Mhm. The Mohegan 9 says, "If you believe a lie, is it still a lie?" I think he's talking about the person telling the lie, not the person listening to the lie.
Oh, if you believe your own lie,
Yeah.
I guess it's not a lie then, right? Well, you're not lying. You're not lying. It would still technically be a lie, but the person isn't lying.
Isn't it a mistake at that point? Like if you believe that you're telling the truth,
It's called being
mistaken.
delusional.
Well, it may be a symptom of that.
Well, ignorance is bliss, right? But I do not think that even if you are ignorant of the fact that what you're doing is wrong, it is irrelevant. It may weigh in on the punishment but you're still going to get in trouble. Ignorance does not excuse you from obligation. So no.
So it's still a lie.
It's still a lie, man. If a tree falls in the forest and no one's there to hear it, it still fell and made a noise. It doesn't need you.
You don't know
there.
that.
No.
Okay.
You weren't there.
It only made vibrations. There was no noise if there's nobody there to hear it.
If that's what you need to define,
I'm pretty sure
really-
there
it
was
really
some like
comes down
squirrels or
to-
something that heard it.
yeah,
it really comes down to the person's definition of what is a sound. You know, does someone have to be there to hear a sound? In which case, then yes, a tree does not actually make a sound.
No, because before that's like the same logic of like God created man and therefore there was life. I mean, it's the same concept. I mean, without anybody
I'm
here,
talking about sounds.
right. I know, but if there's nobody here,
You can't apply.
humanity
this stuff
hasn't
to
even
that.
been created. I
Yeah.
mean, is there no things happening then? Because how arrogant is that?
No, there's still vibration happening when the tree falls, but if there's no way to listen to interpret that vibration into an auditory
I think the lie
message,
is different.
then there's
though.
no sound.
Well,
thought the
explain
lie is
it,
different.
Watts. What do you mean?
Well, just because if it's just someone saying something, right? And they're saying something that they believe to be true. So I don't think you can say the person, like if someone misleads you, but they thought they weren't misleading you, you can't say, oh, well, you misled me because they didn't purposely mean to mislead you. They didn't know they were misleading you. Technically, it is still a lie, but the person isn't lying.
When Pope says he's casual, is that a lie?
I think
Does
it's
Pope really believe that he's a casual?
It
though?
depends on the definition of casual.
Oh, here we go.
casuals mean many different things. Many different
In this
people.
room, I am the casual.
I don't know.
I don't know if that's true.
No.
It's like how
You're
So-
the hardcore Destiny person.
Look,
Well-
hardcore can mean many different things as well. Like hardcore can mean, I'm dressing up in just pure leather straps, but casual could just mean what you wear to work.
What do you like, Patrick?
You heard me.
Okay.
Okay.
So, thanks everyone for tuning in. Thanks everyone for tuning in to the 77th episode of the Destiny Community Podcast. Hope you're all doing well tonight. And we'll see you next time after the patch comes out.
Yeah,
that's right.
That's right.
Shadow. We're going to have Triple Wreck on the podcast to discuss some stuff, and it's going to be should be an interesting episode. We're all looking forward to this patch and seeing what the sandbox changes bring.
Yes.
Yeah, and if you want to find more of me, I am at Holton _YT on Twitter, and Yeah, I'm training for a big Magic the Gathering tournament coming up, guys. It's gonna be sweet.
Nice. You gonna crush it?
Oh, dude, I hope so.
He's training. He's studying like it's the SAT.
Training, dude. I won a 1K.
Like work out your fingers? Is that what you do? Like
Oh,
to turn over
like,
the card faster?
Do you do deck curls where you put 2 decks
Yeah,
in one and
you
just
gotta
like
you want to try to take as little time shuffling as possible, so you gotta constantly, you know.
So you have to shuffle? Is there is there people who cheat in Magic like you know how pull off the bottom?
Yes.
Yeah.
Do you get DDoSed?
Yes.
100%.
How often do you get
Basically.
DDoSed?
I have yet to been DDoS in Magic.
Is this a physical Magic tournament or or online?
Magic the Gathering, the collectible card game tournament.
Yeah, I used to play Magic, but are you doing
So have your
tournament
cards?
online?
I'll buy 'em.
Or... Yeah, I've got heaps of cards. You want them?
Shit, yeah. I'm the Guardian Con.
All right. Next.
I'm
Or
Briar
Guardian
Rabbit.
Tech
You can
and
find
spend a lot
me
of money.
over on YouTube. Look up Briar Rabbit. Streaming every day, every afternoon. Look up Briar Rabbit on Twitch, or talk to me on Twitter at the Briar Rabbit.
I am Tefty Teft. You can talk to me at Teft on Twitter. You can catch my streams, twitch.tv/Tefty Teft. Usually start around 6 p.m. Pacific time in the evenings, West Coast. And I have a YouTube channel as well, Tefty Teft.
And I am Miss 5000 Watts. You can find me on Twitter, Twitch, and YouTube at Miss 5000 Watts.
And this has been Mylan, go.
Okay. Mylan Games, MYELIN Games, Twitter, YouTube, and Twitch.
Excellent. Check out his stuff. It's awesome.
It is awesome.
And this has been Pope Bear. You can find me on Twitter and Twitch now at Pope Bear. Yeah.
The
I've been
casual streamer.
streaming casually once
true.
a week for 2 hours on Sundays. Come hang out. It's fun.
So if you're the type of person that generally posts comments in YouTube saying how much you hate Boat Bear, you can go tell him. You can go tell it to his face now on stream behind your keyboard and whatever, and then we can continue to not really get.
Isn't that
It
some
will
sort
help
of
Pope get partnership.
Yeah, it probably would. So
is-
please go watch him and berate him.
Actually, those are all just my alt YouTube accounts. So it's really hard for me to go in and like pretend to have a conversation with myself in Twitch. Like I gotta have like 4 computers open and like logged into different accounts.
There
It's
you
really
go.
hard.
And you can talk to yourself talking about how bad Pope Bear is. Yeah. Great.
That's what people that post those comments.
I want you guys
So
to
anyway.
follow our Twitter account at Destiny or at DCP_live. We're over there and we're doing tons of stuff. We've got a YouTube page now, and you'll be directed towards that when you watch this show on YouTube on any of our channels. And I'm also excited to announce that thanks to our wonderful patrons who have shown up in force. My God, you guys are amazing.
Mhm.
We have been able to afford to do more content for you guys. And we're going to be producing some arrangement of the 5 of us as a Let's Play every week. And it'll go up on the Patreon site on Mondays and then public on all of our channels. So wherever you find your favorite content creator, you're going to be able to watch the YouTube video on Wednesday. So you'll look for that every Wednesday in your sub boxes. We are excited to be able to produce that for you. That's in addition to the additional podcast that we're going to be doing once a month, and a special event Let's Play once a month as well. That we're special event because I'll be there, I guess. So you can avoid that one. Never mind, it's not so special. Anyway, so we're excited. I just want to take a second to read out our patron
Mhm.
producers. We've got Andrew Slag, Tyler Waite, Rico, Nick Salvo, Alex Qualley, Orioles, Joker Danube, Taylor Rosenau, Adam Kamiri, and Brandon Smith. Thank you very much for being producers and helping us achieve our goals.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you, guys.
Cool.
Awesome.
All right. Yeah. We'll see you later.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.